Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Yes. Look what I found today. Sometimes using DuckDuckGo is an alternative to using Google where, just the same information is not available. This is Nicole Earl and Christina Atwood, allegedly. Okay. But it's nice to know who we're talking about here. I believe it is. I had found a picture a while back of when I Googled Christina Atwood, and it was like her and a man, but it wasn't a very good, picture, and so I wasn't very sure, but today finding this one and then the article that's attached to it was, I was like, "Huh, well, I mean, the more we know, the better I feel for sure." But anyways, hey, how you doing? Good to see you guys here. I tried to be kinda on time. I tried. Hey, good to see you, Megan and Aaron and Trace and Peggy. I love mountains too. They are pretty. Very different from here in Southwest Louisiana, where we do not have mountains or hills or anything that's remotely close to that. And welcome in, welcome in. Good to see you guys here. Hey, Miss Brenda. Here we go again with Lori. She's just like the FBI said that these people keep on giving. They keep giving the content, there's so much. There's so much here. There is so much here. In my opinion, it's way more than just Chad and Lori, just because two people fell in lust, you know. So, hello Cheryl and Amanda. How are you guys doing? Hey Divergent, good to see you. And Detective's daughter. All right. You got a notification? So, all right, maybe I won't be pushed down in the algorithm ditches where I seem to stay, you know. So I guess just by talking about Lori and Chad, it kind of keeps me safe. But when I talk about all the other ones, that's when I'm not so safe, not so welcomed algorithmically, I guess you can say. Hey, Carrie RH, how are you doing? You're not you're not late. You're just on time. Oh, good. Okay, people are getting notifications, so this is a good sign. Okay. Yay, we're making it. And hi, Nina Canadian. How are you? You too. It's good to see you again too. Y'all, Megan had a good live earlier, I do believe. Y'all need to go check it out. It's about bullies. That's all I kind of remember because I have no short-term memory, whatever, whatsoever. I don't have it. So that's why I never would make a good waitress or anybody like that. I used to have to write down drinks. I was a cocktail server at one time, and well, that was interesting. But anyways, hi Desert Barb. How are you? Good to see you guys here. I'm so glad to hear you guys are getting a notification. That's good. That's good. So, what okay, let me go grab this real quick and that way I'll have the right screen to share with you. It was an article on the women of Chandler. So we'll learn a little more about uh, Nicole Earl and Christina Atwood, right? That's who it is today, right? Okay, let me share. And so this is what I found on using DuckDuckGo. So Google is a verb that we all use. I kind of freaked out whenever my 80-something-year-old grandmother used it as a verb. I was like, "Oh, wow, the times are changing," you know? She told me to go, Google something, and I was like, "Hmm." Anyways, but yeah, so I found this article, and this is from citylifestyle.com, and it's Women of Chandler, and it says, "Meet Chandler City Lifestyle's 2024 honorees." And so it goes on to say, Christina Atwood, Nicole Earl, co-founders, get this, Gathering Humanity. Wow. Yeah. In 2016, Christina Atwood went on a local Facebook group to invite the community to help provide goods for an arriving refugee family she had learned about. And the response was so overwhelming, it led to joining with Nicole Earl to start and run a nonprofit, Gathering Humanity. This grassroots organization provides essential goods to those experiencing resettlement. They organize community donations and volunteers in order to furnish apartments for refugees and others, helping make their house truly a home, offering not only a significant financial benefit, but a warm welcome to new neighbors. The organization is 100% run by volunteers and supported through donations. It provides ways to engage people of all ages to make a difference and serve the vulnerable arriving in our area. Quote, the vast majority of work is done in concert with 4 local resettlement agencies who notify us of refugee arrivals. We leave behind a sign in every apartment we set up that states that the items are gifts from people in the community that hope they find safety and peace in our country, unquote. So I know it's not much, but it's more than I've seen anywhere else. I've never seen this before any time before. So I just wanted to share this with you guys and to kind of see who else is part of this. So I'm not going to read all these things, but it says Kelly Schwab, who's an attorney, is part of I see, I already forgot the name of this. Women of Chandler. Okay. So I will leave the link in the chat when I get back there. Madhavi Reddy, entrepreneur. Karen Joseph, community organizer. Cece Kentabrana. I don't know how to say these names properly. City of Chandler. Lenore Dems, I guess. Chandler Fire Department. Lone Doe or Dow. I don't know how to say that either. Dentist. Dr. Janet Drez, volunteer. Cindy Grigory, teacher, Skyline Gila River. I guess that's how you say that. Christine Carpenter is a teacher. Megan Have, or I don't know, MD, a physician. Okay. And Lieutenant Donna Reno, Chandler Police Department. I was like, interesting, right? So to describe Donna Reno as curious might be an understatement. As a child, she always wanted to be a detective. Chandler, detective, Chandler. And was interested in homicide cases, especially serial killer cases. Quote, I have always been intrigued with the psychology of why people commit serial crimes, unquote. After initial interest in the FBI, Lieutenant Reno started her career with Chandler PD in 2007. And over the years, she has served with numerous duties from patrol operations to community services to wellness training, including the Special Victims Unit. Remember that victim part? Where they sent a victim's advocate to Lori after her interview, or at the very end of her interview with Chandler detectives, right? He's school resource officer, professional standards section, watch commander, and the training section. Throughout her career, she has been active in teaching many topics, both within the department and many community groups. It says something you may not know. Quote, if my vision had been 2020 as a child, I would have gone into the Air Force to fly fighter planes and then become an astronaut. I am fascinated about how vast space is with such a variety of things going on that sometimes are incomprehensible, unquote. So that was just interesting, to find that Lieutenant Donna Reno is also a Chandler detective, but is also in this same, oh my gosh, I already forget, Chandler Women with Nicole Earl and Christina Atwood. So I find that interesting. And so Jackie Ryan, Intel, and then Cheryl Keem or Keemy, I don't know. Neighbors Who Care, and Shelby Arians, that's interesting name. Arians Family Foundation, Erica Maxwell, educator, Christy Blackwell is an attorney, Karen Self, teacher / coach, and then just down here it has the many. Looks like they're going to a white party. Well, she's not, but anyways. All right, so we'll share this guy with you guys, and you can look at it at your leisure. And yeah, So I just wanted to share that before we get into the interview, which there are 2 interviews with Christina Atwood. Okay. There's one that's on audio. There's one that most people have seen, I believe. Let me go grab it. So I want to grab the one also. Oh, I keep pulling up the wrong things, of course. Let's see. I want to pull up the one of just the audio because it's been a long time. I just pushed the wrong button again. This is what I do. They all look alike, so that's what I kind of do sometimes a lot. Okay. Christina Atwood. That I have on my channel. Let's see. Yeah, this is a picture that I had found before. So that's the one. That's the audio. Okay. I don't know if it just showed you.
Probably 7 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's loud. Let's back that up. Let's go past this right here. Let me make sure y'all are on the right screen. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. 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 All right. So, okay. This one does have subtitles, where it does the captions. Okay. So the other one, uh, I have it too, but Law and Crime had put it up as well. And that's the one I had pulled up, but it didn't offer any closed captions. So anyways, we'll play this and let's just get this thing started. Okay.
Today is Wednesday, April 15th at 14:18 hours. Detective Moffat, regards to case number 19-83744, going to be contacting Christina Atwood in regards to this case.
Oh, Lord. Crazy. Like we're there. Oh, let me put that link in the chat. While I'm thinking about it.
How's it going? Is Christina around?
Well, sure. What's up?
This is I'm Detective Moffat, Chandler PD. I'm just doing a follow up on a case, and
Is it maybe Lori? Whatever it is.
it is.
It is. Come on in, sir.
We're just, come on in.
Okay.
Stand.
My office is a mess, and we're just kind of getting some cooking and stuff. But please come and sit down. My phone will snap at you.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Let's start in house.
Come on, dog. You go outside.
This is to keep our dogs off our
Come on.
couch.
No problem. So, how do you know Lori?
Church.
Church? Okay.
Got married in church.
How long have you known her?
It's been, how many years?
I'm okay, thank you.
Years.
My jug is over there somewhere.
So we've probably known Lori for,
How many years has it been since?
well, it's only been
Probably
since
7
we moved down
years.
here.
7 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. That's a long
Do you
time.
know Chad?
Not at all.
Okay.
I met him one time at my sister's ward. He goes to church with my sister in Idaho. And I met him just casually. That's the only time.
Okay. So you have a sister that lives in Rexburg or that area?
In Salem.
Salem?
Well, in New Dale too.
Yeah, I've got sisters all around, but
I was just, yeah.
I couldn't understand that last part. But we do know, and even from the other interview that she does with Ron Ball, that her sister goes, same church, same ward as Chad Daybell. And actually, in the other video, she talks about how she met Chad for maybe 30 seconds. But this kind of goes into the whole idea, especially Megan has been vocal on this, about how she thinks that Chad and Lori met way sooner than just October 26, 2018, where the two just automatically go into this whole spiel of murdering each one of their family members, you know, and rating them dark and just all the things. It just is so odd all in of itself, you know. But then, you know, just to first meet somebody and go into these horrible plans, you know, it's so diabolical. And I mean, I don't know. There was something the other day that just struck me. I was listening to it came on by itself again. The interview with Melanie Gibb. I know. I automatically shut off too. It's like she just triggers me so bad. But at the very end of Melanie Gibb's interview with Ron Ball, she's talking about and I forget. Oh, where she actually says that she is there the day that JJ Vallow was seen. Okay. She talks about how he was cutting pizza boxes, and she talked about how she did like this, you know, and as if while she was trying to explain the cabinetry where JJ allegedly or was supposedly, according to Melanie Gibb and David Warwick, got on the cabinetry, it was crawling all up, and then that's what they say Lori told them. So it's all just a bunch of gibberish. It's a bunch of word salad, and it's so hard to follow. But she actually does say that Sunday, you know, that Lori had cut. This is Melanie Gibb saying Lori had cut her hair, starting upstairs and downstairs, and I mean, just on and on and on. And anyway, so it just got me thinking about how. And then I went into looking up Christina Atwood because I wanted to do that today. And so I watched the other interview, most of it, but of Christine Atwood, but I never did, you know, finish. I want to do that here with you guys. Like, I haven't heard this one in so long. It's brand new again to me. So, but just for her to say that right there, and just to know that on the other one, she does talk about it with Ron Ball and how Chad is serving in the, he is serving a calling as an executive secretary or ward clerk, same thing, with her brother-in-law, basically. So it just got me thinking about this, you know. Anyways, we'll continue on.
So you actually met him up in Idaho?
Yeah.
Okay. When's obviously before all this stuff happened? When was the last time that you talked to Lori?
June.
June. What was that conversation like or about?
I had gone to visit her. I was kind of concerned about some of the stuff that she was talking about, saying, and so I just had to visit her and said, yeah, I'm a little concerned about you.
Okay.
What's going on? And I reached out to her multiple times after that, and she really didn't respond to me much at all. So, like, I heard about her husband's death, and I left her a message and reached out to her multiple times, and then texted her a few times. She may have texted back once or twice, but if she did, it was very, very short.
Okay.
So she really hasn't spoke to me since June.
Okay.
Okay.
When you said you were concerned about her behavior, was there, well, I guess what brought that on?
Well, actually, it wasn't. So I had never met her brother Alex until like a couple of days before that. And I'd gone home to visit. I'd been invited over to visit her and some ladies, and he was there. And just the way that they were talking, I just felt it was not appropriate.
Okay.
So
She had gone over for a religious discussion,
and it
had gotten into the realms of rude,
yeah,
and that's not equal. Rude and religious discussions, although maybe they're not the same, so it left a bad.
Okay. Gotcha. Did they ever get into any of the I guess, are you guys LDS?
Whoever.
Okay. Did she ever get into the kind of extraordinary outside of the LDS
That's
faith?
the pieces and parts that got weird, and that was the end of it.
Okay. Did you ever hear any discussion between her and Alex, or I guess who were the other ladies?
Because I've only ever met Alex the one time.
Okay.
So no.
So I guess in the conversation that got rude, was there?
It was just weird.
Okay. Do you remember any of the context or
That's what I
anything
do.
that made it weird for you?
Well, Lori felt like her husband wasn't her husband, like he wasn't, like he was possessed or something.
Okay.
Did she say something to that night? Yeah. Okay, because I was going to say no, don't.
Yeah, and so
Is he a lawyer?
And her brother was just kind of aggressive about it. Like, what I took considerable stress at was the fact that he was casually like, well, he just needs to die kind of thing. And I'm like, totally not appropriate. So after that happened, I went back a day or two later.
Was this at their house that she'd rented it here, or where'd you guys meet at?
It was at her friend Zulema's.
Okay.
January.
And so I was really upset by it. So I just texted her and said, Lori, I need to visit you because I think this is really inappropriate. And so I went and told her and I said, you can't be casual, stuff like that. You can't, it's not okay to talk about that in that context. Like, I don't know your brother. She's like, oh, you just know me. I'm super dramatic and so is he, and he didn't mean anything by it. And
What about all the times that this has been gloated about? With Joe Ryan even. That's the concerning part is, yes, 2020, we're looking back in 20, you know what I'm saying? Not 2020 the year, but in 2020 vision, you're looking back and you have the luxury of having all of these pieces together to put together. And it is alarming to hear the same rhetoric being repeated over and over and over again. Megan just had a video with an interview of a guy who met Alex and worked with him for a while. And I was just like, wow, this is so alarming. And it just seems like this kind of passive aggressive talk just went on and people just, even Lori, oh, don't worry, we're just, dramatic, yada, yada, yada. And to me, it's a very, very red flag field pattern, and it just emboldened their murderous spree, in my opinion. That's just the way it looks to me. So let me know what y'all think.
And so I just said, well, if something were to happen to your husband, I'd want to go talk to the police. If this is you can't talk about that, and that's not okay.
Okay.
And so I was she said, no, not at all. We're just, being dramatic. And that was the end of it.
Okay. When you had that follow-up conversation with her, was that over the phone or was that in person?
Home. No, it was at her brother's home in Queen Creek.
Okay.
Where she was staying at the time. So I never, and before that time, I had never been to her house that was, I'd been to the big house off of Higley.
Okay.
But I hadn't been to in between house because she was really sporadic in communication. And
okay. How close were you guys prior to this?
I didn't know her well at all before she moved to Hawaii. When we went to Hawaii
so I had known her. She was in the primary at our ward, and so was I.
Okay.
She was the music singer and stuff like that. And then she moved out to Hawaii.
And we had a really great visit in Hawaii. And
so we went to Hawaii for a vacation, just of our own families. And while she was there, we went and left a surfboard that we had bought at Costco because it was cheaper than renting.
Okay.
We gave it to them.
We just had a really nice
had a
visit.
half-day visit, whatever it was. It was a few hours in the afternoon, and then we left, and that was that.
Was Charles there then?
No, he was.
Okay, he was traveling for work. Yep. Okay. Is there anything else that you could think of? I guess now hindsight being what it is, and all of these active investigations.
I didn't get a chance to visit Lori after her husband died.
Okay.
And then because my sister's in the ward with Chad Daybell, I'd been at Harvest and
over in Idaho.
I had no idea she'd moved to Idaho. No idea where she was.
Okay.
And had heard that Chad Daybell's wife had died. And so my sister called me and she's like, hey, Ruth, or Christina, my sister's name is Ruth. I just heard that Chad's wife died. That guy introduced you to a church. I said, oh yeah, that's my friend Lori's friend. And so she told me about it. So I texted Lori and tried to call her. And I didn't say, I just said, I heard something and I want to visit with you. If you have a chance, call me. But she never ever responded.
Never responded.
So I had no idea she was even living there.
Okay.
For that she'd married him, or
Did you know her and Chad were friends prior to, or I guess by the time you were
I knew that
introduced?
she knew him, yeah.
Okay. How did you know that? Through the...
Because, just in visiting with her, she'd given me a couple of his books.
Okay.
To read. And so, and then my sister had brought it up one time that there was this guy that wrote these books. I said, oh, my friend gave me his book. And so that's how I made that connection. So then when I met him in the summer, it was just like,
Oh, you're the that wrote the book.
My friend let me your book,
Gotcha.
And that was about it.
But there wasn't a lot more conversation about Chad and Lori and their relationship prior to this or anything else like that? It was just a friend? Okay.
Yeah, just friends. There wasn't anything else that I knew.
Gotcha. Like I said, is there anything else, I guess, now looking back that you go, oh man, that's really strange, or?
Really upset about all of it, and I have.
She's lost sleep at nights thinking you guys are gonna come holler away. I said, Chris, when they come, just talk to them. I'm just teasing.
No, but so Melanie Gibb is a friend of hers. She has reached out a couple times and wanted to visit, and I haven't even read the news articles. Like, it just kind of makes me sick, and I haven't even really wanted to. So when she asked if I wanted to get together and visit, I just said I really don't. Like, I don't want to talk about anything that you haven't talked to the police. And she said, I've told the police every single thing I can think of.
Yeah, we've talked to her on several different occasions. So
I just said I don't really want to get
There's
into
Melanie,
it.
the niece or the?
No.
No, that's
her friend.
Yeah. There's two Melanies.
So really, none of those ladies that we were getting together and just doing like scripture discussions and stuff, and we really haven't had anything to do.
Did you guys have any mutual friends besides? Did you know Zulema prior to this?
No, not at all.
Okay, so that was your first time basically going to Zulema. Was that?
No, I gone one other time to Zulema's. I met her last March. So Melanie, and then Melanie, her niece.
Okay.
And then my friend Nicole, who was also in the ward with me. So we knew, the three of us knew from her from here. And the day that I was upset about the whole thing and just kind of was done with it was when I met her brother Alex. There was a neighbor, somebody that had been invited. Her name was Julia, I want to say.
Okay.
Or something.
Julia? Oh, Julie
so that's
Clement.
the only other.
A neighbor?
Oh, and Serena Sharp.
Okay.
Let's listen to that again because I want to catch that again. This could be Julie Clement, who talked about the Church of the Firstborn, but was not a part of it. Okay, and that's according to the FOIA docs. Chandler Detective Moffat here had, they had written these reports up. So I'm just going to back it up a little bit so we can hear that part again. I'm off camera so I can smoke a cigarette.
Invited, her name was Julia, I want to say.
Okay.
One more time.
I was upset about the whole thing and just kind of was done with it. Was when I met her brother Alex, there was a neighbor, somebody that had been invited. Her name was Julia, I want to say.
Okay.
Or something. And so that's the only other. Oh, and Serena Sharp.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it.
So, Serena and Nicole through church?
Yes. Well,
okay.
Serena was introduced to us by Lori.
Okay.
And Serena's still,
okay.
I communicate with Serena, and Nicole's my best
friend. Oh.
I mean, we're good friends.
So we're good friends with the Sharps and with the Earls.
Okay.
And they haven't had any contact either.
They haven't? Okay.
I'm sure they'd welcome
so
or whatever.
You, Nicole, and Serena, and then Lori kind of were all, I guess, acquaintances, or you're friends with them, but Lori became friends through church, and that's kind of how. Yeah. So that's part of the reason that I'm here, and I'm sure you might have, if you haven't seen the news article, and now I don't need to. I'll just hand this to you. This is that kind of their light and dark scale rating and everything else, and
light and dark scale.
Yeah, they have and the past lives that everybody's lived, and the reason
this
that
is completely inconsistent with any of our church's beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope
you know that.
Yeah, well,
obviously
I'm
anything
very
doing is very inconsistent.
Yeah, very very aware of it being on the outside, but your name. Serena's name and Nicole's name, those are the other two that are blocked off, are all there that became part of this
group,
this thing that they kind of have floating around. And that's how it came to be that we wanted to come out and talk to you, is just to see, I guess,
But let's not forget, okay, and this came out a lot in Chad Daybell's trial, where John Pryor kept questioning every witness pretty much if they were if they knew about the 7 gatherers, and we were like, what? Oh my God, and I was thinking of the 7witnesses.com. It's this website that it has the very same belief system uh, written in PDF form, and like the 144,000, then there's the 144,000 that are light, the 144,000 that are dark. So I was like, he must be saying it wrong. But if you do go look back in the Chandler FOIA docs, it does say that this is a group. And I mean, I'm just going to bring it up because it's worth bringing up. A lot of people aren't connecting this group, so to speak, to other nefarious groups that have been, like, uh, oh gosh, I just lost the word, but have been making news headlines since the so-called satanic panic. The Glenn Pace memo, Bishop Glenn L. Pace, who was actually a general authority at the time, was tasked with creating, or not creating, but going and investigating these different accounts of what they were calling at the time, alleged satanic ritual abuse. Okay. And he had met with 60 people, and only because he had to limit himself, because there were way more people coming forward saying that they were being abused by this satanic group. Okay. That was operating inside of the church. Okay. And so, and according to my research into David Hamblin and that group, so to speak, they go by the group, that's in quotation marks, the group. They also go by the LDS Church of Satan. Okay. Whatever. That's just their official name. So I'm of the opinion from my research that Chad and Lori belong to this same group. Okay. And these people torture. These people put and I'm sorry, it's triggering. Okay. This is very alarming to hear. These people put their children, they put not white bags, so they put bags over their children's heads, dunk them in water. They scare them. They torture them. They R-word them. They all kinds of things. Okay. And if you are familiar with Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt's case, I believe that Jody Hildebrandt and David Hamblin, the Hamblin family, would have come across each other maybe back in Tucson, Arizona, when they both would have lived there. I'm just trying to connect them on other levels, you know what I mean? So that I just really do believe that this is the same group. And Chad and Lori are just another faction of that. And Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt are just another faction of that. And Tim Ballard is just another faction of this. Okay. It's this group that they're required to hold dual membership in both churches, the LDS Church of Satan and the LDS Church. Okay. So that's alarming all in of itself. Okay. But their tactics are very much the same. And they do involve human ritual sacrifice. They do involve murder. Okay. So I mean, I want to know, it's just weird that the belief system that I have researched into and got from the Hamblin clan, is the very same belief system that Chad and Lori have followed. The same belief system that I believe was happening with Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt. So is it, and the same with Tim Ballard, Julie Rowe, the very same. Okay. So it's like these covens or something. And I don't know. Anyways. But she was one of the 7 gatherers, which was an email group that the group used, the 7 women used, where they communicated with each other by just emailing within that one at gmail.com or whatever, the 7 gatherers. So it's just interesting.
See, what did you say about Christina? Which one are you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lanaia's daughter? Oh, granddaughter. Wow. Awesome. It's nice to know you.
They're inverted.
I know the things about Prophet Jacob. be nicer to you.
So the only thing that I would add is that when Nicole talked to Lori after my husband died,
Okay.
and she told Lori told Nicole that
Keep moving.
that the whole thing that went down with Charles was that Charles had he and several others were planning to kill her, and that the day that he died, he left his phone in their home, and on the phone was this plans to kill Lori, and so that it was the fight broke out because Charles wanted his phone back, and she wanted to keep the phone that showed that he was trying to commit murder against her.
Oh yeah.
And she told Nicole that Charles had cut her out of all the insurance and stuff. They were getting divorced, and that she wasn't getting any money, and she was left with all of the bills from his job, like their home business and everything. So she was in really, really bad shape financially, is what she was told.
Okay.
So what was interesting at Christmas time is my sister Ruth, because Chad's in her ward, her husband was in the bishopric, and he was like a clerk or something. And so in visiting with him, he had said, oh, my wife got a lot of money from her husband's death, and we have a house in Hawaii now, which didn't make any sense with what I'd heard, which is that she was stuck with all this debt, and she never had a house in Hawaii. She was renting, so it wasn't even like she had a house then. So it wasn't making sense with what was said.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Lots of
So
lying, obviously.
tons apparently.
And this is what I've just found my papers that I'd wrote down all this stuff. And so I was like, schedule Sunday live stream, 7 Gathers gal. Okay. She's one of the 7 Gathers, Christina Atwood, and then her testimony / statements to police. So this is one of the 2 interviews that took place with Christina and police. Okay. So this one is actually the first one. And then it says, top known fact, like what we know about Christina Atwood is that she is one of the 7 Gatherers, obviously. Okay. She was the first to introduce the idea about they didn't use the word exorcising, but it's what it sounds like to me, about exorcising demons out of Charles via casting out. And that's from Gibb. Gibb said that. Lori told Christina about crushing Xanax and putting them into Charles' smoothies / drinks. Christina told no one. And she was kicked out for asking too many questions. And so Lori iced her out. And she also, I believe, did a nonprofit fundraiser or something with Jason Mao. So that was interesting too. What else do I have here? Let's see. Well, they're upside down and backwards and all kinds of stuff. So, okay, let me just keep playing until I find more. Okay.
A lot.
Yeah,
Absolutely a lot.
There has to be with all this crap.
Okay.
It's not that funny.
Anything
though,
else that you can think of that would be important for me in these cases? And
okay, here, I found this too. In June of 2019, Lori Vallow told Christina she had been lacing Charles's drinks with Xanax or JJ's meds. In the Chandler FOIA docs under group, it's in quotation marks, okay? And then under one of the 7 Gatherers, we heard Pryor say on repeat in Chad Daybell's trial. Others listed as being the 7 Gatherers is Lori Vallow, Melanie Pulowski, Melanie Gibb, Zulema, Serena, Nicole Earl, and of course, Christina Atwood. So there's that. Just kind of putting that out there. And it's silent. Where'd they go?
unfortunately, I'm out of business cards, but I'll give you my desk phone number. And because something might pop into your mind, you know, a week from now or a month from now, you go, oh man, I should, you know, tell Nathan this, and I'll give that to you just so you have my contact information.
I don't know how it could have, what transpired. Like, none of it makes sense to me. It just makes me sick.
Yeah.
It's all absolutely insane.
That's a good way to put it.
That's to say so.
It's a very good way to put it.
Officer, do they know where the kids are?
No.
Okay.
No.
I have lost track of hearing about it on the news one way or the other. We knew Tylee and what was the other little
JJ.
JJ.
Yeah.
And they were such sweet kids, wonderful people. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure you've heard that before. I just haven't heard if they found them or not. So.
No, not yet. So
Obviously, it doesn't bode well.
no. All right, you guys. Well, I appreciate it. Okay.
Okay, so I don't remember making this video, y'all. I don't even remember. All right, so I posted that the audio that we just listened to. I posted that in the chat, and it's on the screen right now. And now we'll go to this other one, which is not that. It's over here. Okay, so this one does not have closed captioning. Sorry, and she's she speaks very me. So it's kind of hard, in my opinion, to hear her. Now this one's an hour and 22 minutes and 23 seconds long. So I don't know. We'll try and get through it.
Nice.
As opposed to a hard room.
Correct. Nice. How do you know it's soft room?
Set it on the door.
Oh, I'm gonna try to get the lights to come on.
I don't know. Maybe.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Did you just get one from Vince?
Uh-huh. He says, "Okay, I'll be out."
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Go grab him.
I'll go deal with it.
Okay.
Tell him if he's not done, we're fine. If he wants to come over later,
I'm in
that's
with
cool
you.
too. Ron. Say Ron.
It doesn't sound like they know each other.
Make sure I've got everything shut off here.
Actually, I kind of like this one a little better.
Yeah, it's okay.
Maybe the little hard chairs. So, how are you?
Well, this is the last place in the world I ever thought I'd be.
Well, here's the deal. This is just more. I don't even really consider this so much of an interview, more of a conversation. This is not an interrogation by any means, or anything like that. I know that you've been talked with before.
Just once, and that was by Chandler, the PD officer, I believe. He came to my home.
And so I've read their reports over.
Okay.
It's typical with investigations. It's not unusual for us to go back and visit people two or three more times just to make sure we kind of get everything. I think that's where we are right now.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure out everything. There's a lot of things that people have said through this whole thing that come back and we think in our minds, well, why is that, or somebody else makes sense of that for me.
Right.
And unfortunately, some of the people that could make sense for us aren't talking. We're in jail.
That made me laugh.
And so, look, Christina, we found the kids.
I can't even that in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad. And, now we're just trying to move on, trying to figure out how in the world this happened. I know what happened, but I want somebody to help me understand how it went from, kids being alive to where we ended up finding them. And how come I can't get people or suspects to tell us exactly what happened? It's just...
That right there.
There's
Whoa.
nothing.
Right here.
More suspects.
Where he says why we can't get more suspects to talk to them. That was interesting to me. Let's hear that again.
Finding them. And how come I can't get people or suspects to tell us exactly what happened?
That was interesting.
It's for, there's nothing.
Yeah.
How do you ever make sense of it?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if you ever make sense of it. Just try to, or you. You certainly can't ever justify it. But
no.
But how did it get to that point? I guess is really the questions I have. So, and I think you kind of have a little bit of insight with some other ladies.
Yeah.
and a couple of gentlemen to kind of help us get there a little bit. So I don't want you to think that this is a hardcore interview with you or anything. Okay. All right. Yeah. So first of all, I'm just going to jump right into this. Okay. And again, there's a few things because I've read the Chandler police report that I am aware of. And we may hit upon a few of those things again. Okay. So, because it was quite a bit. But tell me, how did you first meet Lori?
Church.
You guys attend the same ward?
We did. We were in the same ward. I really had very little to do with her. She was in primary. So my husband and my boys interacted with her, and they really liked her, thought she was great. And then they moved to Hawaii. So I probably had very few interactions other than hello.
When would that have been?
In 2013, 14, in that area. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they were in the ward the whole time when we first moved there, or like I don't know. But after they moved, we went on a trip to Hawaii, and Lori's family had moved to Hawaii, so my boys were interested in
which
seeing
Hawaii?
her.
Which island?
They were in Kauai.
Okay. Is that where you went?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were in Kauai. And so we reached out on a Sunday and went over and visited them. So that was really my first interaction with her one-on-one. And then we went down to the beach, I think, a day or two later.
You and Lori or the family?
No,
okay.
Actually, it was just Lori and my family. We paddleboarded this. I can't remember if Tylee was with us that day or not. I don't think so. I think JJ was in school. So we just spent the day, maybe a morning, and that was great. And then a couple years later, would have been 2018, I saw her in the temple a couple times and connected to her there, told her about the work I was doing with refugees. And she was interested. She came and did an apartment setup with us one day, and just kind of most of the interactions would have been in the temple, or she came and helped one day. And she had, in the end of 2018, we had the asylum crises, and my nonprofit helps refugees and other people in the community. And so we were so overwhelmed with the need to get A places and to B places and to get doctors and everything. So she had reached out and invited us to go to Hawaii, said she'd pay her trip to go, and we couldn't go. We were way too busy. And invited us to get together after. Probably, I don't know exactly when it had been. It's hard to remember dates.
Sure, absolutely.
I would guess
we're talking
winter,
period of time.
2018, I would say. And then also,
was she still living in Hawaii at the time when she reached out? Or did she move back?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because it seems like she'd come back, and so in the new year, in January, she was off the radar. Couldn't get a hold of her. She wasn't responding. Then all of a sudden she reached out. She was in Arizona and wanted to get together. And I had no idea that she'd moved from her house to a new house, and then that she had left, and her husband had moved to Texas, and all news to me when I saw her. And she was upset because Charles had some church proceedings against her to get her temple recommend removed and different things.
Would you recall what she said about that? Or I guess, did she tell you? How did you know that she was mad about it?
Well, she was upset about it enough to leave him and go to Hawaii and not tell anybody where she was. And she said that she left Tylee with her brother, I believe. And that Charles had taken JJ and gone to Texas. she was trying to fly under the radar in terms of she didn't want Charles to know where she was.
And she'd gone to Hawaii.
Yeah, she'd been in Hawaii.
And did she take that Tylee was with Alex, or did she take Tylee with her to Hawaii?
No, that Tylee was with Alex
Mm-mm-mm.
and doing online school.
Okay.
Yeah. So then in the springtime, she invited us to get together over a weekend with some ladies that she met. She invited us to come to Preparing a People thing in November, but we were so busy there wasn't even a
Here in Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so then the first time that we met, like Melanie and Zulema and Serena, was I think February or March of that year.
I thought it was January.
And
Where'd you meet them at?
Zulema's house, I think, is the first place. Or they came to our warehouse on Saturday morning. I can't remember which came first. If it was we met them the night before. I think it was. I think we met them the night before on Friday. And then Saturday, the ladies all came down to the warehouse because we were pretty busy with trying to get Aiden stuff out. And on Sunday, I had to take some aid down to the Catholic Church in downtown Phoenix and invited Serena to come with me because I just met Serena.
Oh, April. Okay.
And Lori had some pretty wild ideas and theories and different things. Probably in December, before she was off to Hawaii, or I have no idea even when she went. But she showed up at my door, and my husband was unemployed at the time, and I was working full time doing this charity work. I'm not paid for it; it's just a passion of mine. And she handed me an envelope, and it had a couple $1,000 in it. And she's like, "I was in the temple today. I'm thinking about you guys. Know that you don't have any income, and I just want you to have this." And left. And that's probably the last time I seen her until after she came back.
Is that all that was discussed with you?
Oh yeah, totally. Like she wasn't even in. I don't even know that she came into the house that day, or if she did, it was under 5 minutes, whatever it was.
Okay.
And just so kind about it. Like, hey, I know you guys are struggling for money right now, so just I'm thinking about you.
Mm-mm-mm.
And so then fast forward to spring, whenever those ladies were there.
Those ladies.
And at that time, she expressed concern about Charles. She felt like he was possessed.
Okay, so tell me about. We have Lori, Melanie, Serena, you,
My friend Nicole.
and Nicole.
Yeah.
What's Nicole's last name?
Earl.
Mhm.
Yeah, and she is
E-A-R?
EARL. She's one of my co-founders for my charity.
Oh, okay. And
we were all the same word, the three of us. And Nicole actually knew Lori for several years.
okay.
So
10 years.
So when you guys met, do you remember where you were at this meeting?
yeah, Zulema's.
At Zulema's house. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What happened when you guys were there?
The ladies were all so kind and just welcoming,
And
that's where I met all of them, the Melanies, Serena, and Zulema, all that same day.
What did you guys talk about?
We talked about all sorts of stuff. We studied the scriptures, and we talked about actually most of it was dominated by Lori. She had some stuff that she wanted to share, and she was talking about her theories about pre-existence, and that she believed there was a connection between all of us girls. And
did she say what that connection was?
well, she believes that we had known each other in other lives, that there were connections that way. And she had somewhere written down all these ideas of who everybody was in different lives and sorts of things.
Well, let me ask you, Christina, because you're obviously not the first person to tell me this. What did you think when you started hearing this? Here's Lori, and to be honest with you, I heard good things about her when she was, the nursery president and in church. Everybody seemed to like her. And then we go to what you're talking about now, and I'm
Haven't much.
because I'm LDS, and I hear this stuff time and time again. And I'm like, I'm not sure how that jump is made.
Yeah.
You got any thoughts there? I mean, how did this get it there? Tell me what you thought about it.
Well, I honestly have no idea how she came to all of this, but Nicole and I had been in the temple several times when she was there. Like, she was in the temple. Wasn't that we had met there or planned to meet there. Nicole and I had gone together. And
I wish we could have those cameras.
Our desire to create community and to help people that were in our community. And we shared scriptures and studied in the temple together, and it was great. So my interactions with her after she came back from Hawaii are maybe three times, and all of a sudden she's on this kind of path. And it wasn't like I believed everything she was saying, but I could tell she believed what she was saying. And
Interesting.
was more than willing to hear what she had to say, right? But
the Govan voice.
As members were taught you get your own answers. So, it wasn't like I received an answer that what she was saying was true. So no problem there for me.
That's par for the course.
Sense. But this is a woman who had, showed up at my door with money, had been trying to help my family, and I was more than willing to sit and listen to what she had to say.
So right there, that's what made me wonder if, could Lori, and this is just a question, this is just a hypothetical question. I don't know. I'm just saying, is there this money that was between, like what she just said, there was $2,000 or something that was for a piano, or I think, what did she just say? Hold on, I already forgot. But I remember Melanie Gibbs saying something about this too, which made me wonder if Joe Ryan was murdered by Lori and Alex, okay, that would have been the weekend that my uncle came into town unexpectedly because my grandmother died March 17th, 2018. To me, that would give a perfect window for the two diabolical siblings, okay, to do something inappropriate, and fatal to Joe Ryan. Then I was like, well, okay, but then what about the money? And, it seems like we would have learned about, and maybe we didn't. I just need to touch base with it again about whenever they were talking about the finances and everything in both trials, Lori's finances. And I'm like, well, what if they were filtering and laundering? Okay. It's not a far stretch for this group. I mean, if you go look at Tim Ballard and that whole structure, the whiteboard meeting, yada, 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 it's kind of the same thing, except, anyways, just, I wondered if this was some kind of money that was to be filtered through maybe her nonprofit. I don't know. It was just one of them weird questions that I have. Let me back this up though, so I can hear that again.
So, it wasn't like I received an answer that what she was saying was true. So no problem there for me in that sense. But this is a woman who had, showed up at my door with money, had been trying to help my family, and I was more than willing to sit and listen to what she had to say. I don't know how you go from being a primary president and taking in a child, and all of a sudden, so the last time I gathered with them was probably a month later, and I think I only saw like the group of ladies one other time altogether. And the second time was at Alex's house. And she was, sharing some of her wild ideas. We had done some scripture study and stuff first, but then she had kind of some wild ideas about the idea of her husband being possessed, and her concern that Tylee was also had these dark spirits that were trying to control her.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit. So when did you first hear that Charles was possessed? Or do you remember?
I think it was probably that first night that I met all the ladies.
Do you remember what night that was? A date by chance? Nothing sticks out anywhere?
Serena will know because she flew here.
Okay.
So whenever that was, that weekend.
Okay.
And it was in this, I think it was spring, February, March.
And this was at whose house?
Zulema's.
So we're talking about the same meeting that we did.
Yeah.
Just okay.
Yeah. The first time I met all the ladies. Okay. I think that's the first time that I heard that she was feeling that way. So then the second time we all met, it wasn't everybody. We had Serena called in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Connecticut. We did like a little Zoom meeting kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Witches gather. This is my
and then the third time was back at Zulema's house, and that's the first time I met Alex.
Okay.
And that's the time that I visited with the police officer about. So she asked all of us to come praying and fasting for her and her family. So we came.
Lori's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And she wanted to cast out whatever was in her husband kind of idea.
So triggering.
No, it was in June. Because the very last time I saw her was, I think, June 10th.
So
he was murdered a month later.
2019.
Woo-hoo.
I'm sorry. Did you say June 10th?
Yeah.
What is that when this?
The 9th is when we had the meeting.
Okay, so on June 9th you had the meeting.
Yeah, on June 10th I went to her and said, I'm really concerned about you. This is not okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Alex, that was the first time I'd met him, and he was there. And there was another lady named Julie that was there that I'd never met. And as you know, as we were eating and visiting, Alex started, like, I think twice in the evening, he said something.
I guess not.
He wished he could just kill Charles.
Huh.
Something to that effect. And then Lori that night made a comment about having crushed up some Valium into whatever JJ medicine was to keep him calm. That she had crushed up some pills and put it in Charles's
absolutely
powder, like shake stuff. And so totally disturbed by that. So the next day, after I finished up with my stuff, it was dark, so it was the evening time. I went over and just said to her, Lori, if something were to happen to Charles, I would go to the police. Like,
okay.
You can't.
So let me stop you. Let me stop you right there, because that's important for us to go into.
Yeah.
But I want to jump back to the 9th. Okay. So during this meal, Alex is there.
Yeah.
And Alex tells you that he wishes he could kill Charles.
Yeah.
Did he say how he might do that?
No.
What did Lori say?
I mean, we're like fasting for this family, and to hear like somebody be so like casually and caustically.
Right.
So I was totally disturbed by that. And then to have Lori say that she had crushed up some pills and put it in Charles's stuff.
Did she say when she did that?
In Texas.
When they were living in Texas?
Yeah. Before she'd come. And that she made the comment like that she'd crushed up 10 or something. So anyway, the next day, as soon as I could, I went over and visited her. And just said, Lori, if something were to happen to Charles, I would go to the police, because the way that you guys are talking, she's like, Christina, I'm overly dramatic. I'm just dramatic. And I did crush up some, but it was 2. That was the most that you could put in there, kind of thing. And I said, well, it's totally not cool. Can't do that.
The most.
Anyway.
What?
And from that point on, Lori was done with me. I reached out a couple times to her to try to check on her, see what was going on, and I was not responded to. I think maybe once after that.
Talk up, lady.
So at this meeting on the 9th, was Chad there?
No, I didn't even. I don't even know that I'd heard Chad's name until. So if we met 3 times, us ladies, the second time Lori gave me some of his books. So that's the first time I'd heard about.
On the 9th?
No,
I'm sorry.
it was in between the first and the next meeting. But she was like gone and not like available, like wasn't answering phone calls and was like
just a little.
Very.
So again, the first meeting was on the 9th. Is that right?
No.
As when the first meeting takes
So the
place?
first meeting was February or March. I don't know when. But you can
Oh,
find out from
Just
Sarah.
live?
Yeah, at Zulema's. Yeah. The
Okay.
second meeting was at
All right, let me
Alex's,
back it
but
up.
Alex wasn't there. Never met him until Zulema's, which was the third time.
Backing it up.
The first meeting was on the 9th.
Was
Right
like
here.
gone and not like available, like wasn't answering phone calls and was like very.
So again, the first meeting was on the 9th. Is that right?
No.
As when the first meeting takes
So the
place?
first meeting was February or March. I don't know when, but you can
Oh,
find out from
at
Serena. Yeah, at Zulema's.
Zulema's.
Yeah. The
Okay.
second meeting was at Alex's, but Alex wasn't there. Never met him until Zulema's, which was the third time.
Okay.
I see.
And the
Okay.
third time was June 9th, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
And you saw a progression of things from
Oh yeah.
then till the
Yeah.
9th.
And it was
Oh.
like 3. It wasn't like it was that long of a time.
Thank you, Chris.
But enough that on that
I
third
hope.
time, I was so concerned about her that I went to her privately and said,
So for you to go to her
That's pretty big.
and say something, I'm assuming, and I think I'm right,
True.
that what you heard was kind of, wow, this you should not be talking about this, and maybe she seemed pretty serious about it. Am I close here as far as doing something to Charles, or obviously you believe that she was
Charles took him.
truthful when she said she put something in Charles's drink back
right.
then.
Well, and I wanted to know, like, did you really put a bunch in? Because if you are,
That's so
we're gonna
delusional, too.
take your answer down.
God.
Like, this has got to
Nefarious.
be thrown away, and you've got to fix it, right?
Ugh.
And she just kind of laughed it off and said, "Oh, you know me, I'm just traumatic. I'm just
She's traumatic, not dramatic.
a bunch." And it was just, you know.
But you told her if something happened, you'd call the police.
I did.
And then this is the last time you talked to her?
Yeah.
You didn't have any contact with her or Chad after
Well,
that?
so I had a couple of trips, and I went to Canada twice over the next month, okay? So when I was traveling back from Canada, I got a text that Charles had been killed. What's interesting is the way that I read the text, I thought Charles's brother had killed him. So it was a couple days before I even started out who had
That
killed
makes
him.
sense.
That he had been killed by Alex. I didn't figure out for a bit.
Okay.
Not everybody talks about this. Y'all are weird. You know? He couldn't. They some thirsty women.
I was traveling, so I didn't get home for a couple weeks. So I think that the last exchange that I had with Lori was I reached out. My husband had told me, because my husband wasn't with me traveling, he told me that I don't know if Lori had been at church or if her niece Melanie had been at church, but that they had moved back into our ward and were living in that Mesquite Groves, wherever he was killed.
Where Charles was died?
Yeah, which was in our ward. So she'd been living out of our ward since she'd come back. And so I reached out and said, "Hey, I heard about Charles passing. I'm so sorry. When is there a service? Is there anything I can do to help?" And she responded that Charles had never wanted any sort of, he'd been very explicit in saying he never wanted a funeral, but just
And Lori did not do anything like that. I mean, what she's saying right here is kind of like the same reasoning that Lori used with Colby of when she was accusing Tylee just recently of red rumming JJ and then herself. Okay, remember that? Anyways, but she was saying, she goes straight to the point of telling Colby that um, of what Tylee's wishes were for her remains, not that she had anything to do with her murder. You know what I'm saying? It's such a weird, inverted, manipulative kind of navigating the conversation, never answering the question that's being asked. And so they come up with so much word salad but it also stops you because of the revolting things that they're saying. In my opinion, it's just like nobody asked about that. Nobody that has nothing to do with why she is murdered or why he is murdered or why they were murdered. You know what I'm saying? So it's just gross in my opinion. Ugh. Anyways, backing that up a little bit.
Charles had never wanted any sort of, he'd been very explicit in saying he never wanted a funeral, but just they were just doing, I don't know if it was a memorial or a burial or something, but there wasn't going to be any service. And I probably tried a couple more times to reach out to her. My friend Nicole, I think she was in the temple and saw Lori and visited with her about what had happened. And her story was that Charles had been there to pick up JJ for school, and that this is all secondhand, of course. This is Nicole telling me what she said. But she had said that he'd left his phone, and when she picked up his phone, she could see a conversation between her brother, Charles, and it seems like there was somebody else, but I can't think of who it was, and that they were planning to kill Lori, that there was a plot that he'd taken out a policy in her name, and they were.
And there goes that whole thing again where I feel like Lori is projecting and just basically telling everybody exactly what the hell she was up to. So if you exchange what Christina is saying right here for what Lori allegedly told her, that's exactly whatever she's accusing someone else of seems to be what she is doing, in my opinion. So let's hear Lori's plans to murder Charles again.
Charles, and it seems like there was somebody else, but I can't think of who it was, and that they were planning to kill Lori, that there was a plot that he'd taken out a policy in her name, and they were going to split $2 million.
What'd you think about that?
It's a lie.
Well, I was waiting for there to be some police report about it. Like, okay, so he was trying to kill her, and he was planning to, and her own brother was in on it, and so I expected that there would be some sort of a police statement or something would come up. She told Nicole that she was getting no money that Charles had changed his will, so everything went to his sister, and so that now she was left holding all the finances for their business, which she in the past had talked about, like Charles was a financial planner and how he did really well on his own, but he'd hire people, and so they didn't have their own retirement kind of thing, but they had a lot of debt. And she would talk about how
this is true also. I've always heard this kind of thing where if you're a painter by trade, then your house is most likely in need of the biggest paint job ever. If you're a plumber, your house needs plumbing. If you are an electrician, your house needs electrical work. If you're a mechanic, then all your stuff is broke down. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. So he was a financial planner, yet he didn't have one set out for himself or his family. That's my take on it, I guess.
People, and so they didn't have their own retirement kind of thing, but they had a lot of debt. And she would talk about how they were in this big, beautiful house. And I don't it's Gilbert or Queen Creek, whatever that big house was in, but that it was Charles wanted it for show, and that she didn't care if they were living in a small place or in a big place, but he had to have it a certain way if he was wealthy and doing well, kind of thing. But she told Nicole that like she was in debt for all this money, and she was going to have to figure out what to do. And also at the time, she told her that she was being kicked out of her house if the people had asked them to vacate.
Oh, really?
And so I was waiting for the police to say that there had been a conspiracy, that they were going to kill her.
Did you think that might
She
happen?
was waiting on the police.
Heard what you heard previously?
Yeah, I did think it was possible.
Right.
That's when it gone down.
So
Still didn't call.
Let's jump back to June 9th, this meeting.
Okay.
What else happened at this meeting? I know you guys had dinner. Alex was there. You talked about stuff. We did most of the talking, but what else took place that night?
That's the extent of it. I think it was just her talking about some of her theories and ideas, and
I've often heard, and some people talked about these things, and I guess what they're called is these castings.
castings. I don't know that.
Where some dark spirits entered, let's say Charles, for instance.
Okay.
Where Lori would have said that, well, there's a dark spirit in Charles, and trying to remove that spirit from Charles to be a casting.
Oh, casting out. Yeah.
Casting out.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Before we so when we first got there, everybody was still fasting, so we went outside of Zulema's house and just stood around, and she said a prayer and prayed for her family, prayed for Charles, prayed for, and I mean, she was pretty bold in the whole casting out kind of thing, right? And then we broke our fasts, and they started talking, and what they were talking about I wasn't okay with, and so
What, like?
Well, with Alex running off his mouth about.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so describe the casting to me as if I wasn't there. I mean, where was everybody? Was
We were standing, I think, in the backyard.
Is it like in a circle? Or was it?
Yeah, we were all circled around.
So wicked.
Who said the prayer?
I think it was Lori.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was.
And my understanding also, talking to a few people, was that Lori kind of said, well, for instance, I think even Serena, she said, Serena, you're over water. Or.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, there was something.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't then, though. That was a phone call.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was that night. And Serena wasn't there for that. Serena was only in town once.
Okay.
Hi, Forrest.
That might have been over the phone.
Yeah.
That happened. Did she ever have that conversation? Did she ever say you're in charge of a certain element? Wind, rain, earth, or anything like that?
Absolutely.
There was a phone call. I have no idea when it would have been. That Lori was trying to cast out stuff. And I don't remember what.
And you took part in it, Christina.
Now that you're saying that, yeah, there was like. I had shared when we were talking about the Book of Enoch, and there was something in there that talked about and then I have to go back to my book again and look at it. But Lori was talking about how she was trying to clear dark spirits from her family and from her area. And she wanted the ladies to do that with her, to pray for that and to, but I can't remember any particulars on what that was.
Do you remember her saying anything about Charles being a dark or having a dark spirit?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was possessed. She had a name for who he was possessed by.
Do you remember that name?
No.
She'll be a witness, I believe.
Did she explain?
In fact, it might have been twice. She had two different names. That one of them had left, and there was another one that had come in her belief. But that was later, that like at the end where I was like, okay, this is.
Do you know Ned Schneider?
It could have been that. I couldn't say for sure.
Right. So, did she ever talk about these certain levels of spiritual darkness that somebody?
Yes, that was at Zulema's. Did that came up? Yep.
Tell me about that. What did she? And was it just her? Did Zolima say something about it, or was it Lori?
No, it was Lori. It was all Lori speaking to what she believed. She believed that there were people that had, I believe it was signed contracts before they came to Earth. Is that right? I think so. And she had in her mind what all of us ladies were by some, and I didn't know where she was getting any of this information because there was some references made to a special friend, which later it's determined that's Chad Daybell.
Okay, but she assigned you. You said she assigned you names, or
no, not names. Well, no, she just said I knew all of you ladies before in other lives.
Oh, in a previous life. Okay.
Yes, and her number system was about how many times you've been to Earth.
Okay.
So, when we were at the temple, she talked about how like she remembered me from the pre-existence, and she knew me, and that I didn't have any issue believing could be possible. Mm-hmm. But she also shared in the temple that she'd seen Christ and that she had, she had
God willing. Yeah.
I'm not going to tell her I doubt her, because if she's saying it, then I'm assuming she has had that visitation with the Savior, right? But it just got weird real fast.
So, tell me, at what point did you think that she's now stepping over and it's getting
the days in June? Yeah, well, it was always odd. Like those couple times that we met with her was odd, but it wasn't, in my mind, dangerous. Like we're studying scriptures and visiting and stuff, and she's excited about what she thinks she knows about stuff, right? But it wasn't like, for me anyway, it wasn't like I was saying, I totally agree with you or I accept what you're saying. It just, that's what you believe.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Miss Mojo. These women they need to be held accountable. Absolutely. Thank you.
When Alex made that comment, did Lori say anything else prior to saying something about the pills or anything else that kind of stuck out in your mind?
Those were the two things, like that night, that were just, I mean, it was all odd. But I had no problem going and fasting for my friend who's concerned about her family. Mm-hmm. But when I go there and it's like this weirdness and they're joking about killing somebody or, possibly harming him with medicine and stuff, like it was, okay, you just crossed this line. we're done. Like I'm not going to. And expressed that next day, as soon as I got done all my work, that I had to go visit her and tell her, like, this is not okay.
And that was the last conversation you had with her until you
Other than texting. And I did reach out to her in October because, so it turns out my sister, Ruth, is in Chad Daybell's ward. She lives in Salem.
Oh, really? What's her last name?
Mortensen. So Bob Mortensen, her husband works at PMC. So I think Bob was in the bishopric, and I don't know if Chad was one of the clerks or something.
He was.
Well, Chad would have been the executive secretary maybe at the time.
I don't know. So anyway, so they had an introduction. So Lori had mentioned him, but the only time I'd ever met him was at my sister's ward that summer. We went to go grab my brother-in-law, and Chad was in the office, one of like whatever the clerk's office is, and my brother-in-law introduced me. I said, "Hey, I'm a friend of Lori's. I think you know her." And he said, "Oh yeah, she's a friend or whatever." And that was the extent, like under 30 seconds.
Let's back up, because this is another thing that's weird, and just how can Chad and Lori not have known each other before? Okay, so just gonna back this up a little bit, because Chad was in the bishopric. He was a ward clerk. He was a ward clerk up until the second day of his preliminary hearing, whenever he got disfellowshipped from the church. Okay, so let me press play.
I said, "Hey, I'm a friend of Lori's."
Wait.
Office, one of like whatever.
Let me back it up a little bit more. Sorry.
I don't know. So anyway, so they had interaction. So Lori had mentioned him, but the only time I'd ever met him was at my sister's ward that summer. We went to go grab my brother-in-law, and Chad was in the office, one of like whatever the clerk's office is. And my brother-in-law introduced me. I said, "Hey, I'm a friend of Lori's. I think you know her." And he said, "Oh yeah, she's a friend or whatever." And that was the extent, like under 30 seconds. And that's the only time I've ever met him. But my sister had never met Lori or didn't know her or anything. And she called me. I go up for harvest every year.
Harvest.
Schweinemans.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. I take my boys and we go to it every year. So she called me and told me that Chad's wife had passed away. And so Lori had been off, like she wasn't responding to me at all, wasn't responding to texts or the calls and stuff that I'd made that summer. But so I just left her a voice message and said, "Hey," she had like 3 different phone numbers too, which was so bizarre because she was paranoid.
You know what?
Of Charles getting into her stuff, or I don't know, but she had at least 2 cell phones, maybe a third. I can't remember, but it was like, so when I was trying to get a hold of her, it's like I don't know what phone she's using. But I'd heard about Chad's wife.
I smell horse
so
poo too.
I just left a message and just said, "Hey, I just heard something that was kind of upsetting and wanted to visit with you. Call me," which she never did.
Or bull poo.
I had no idea that she lived in Rexford. I thought they were still in Arizona this whole time. And then I didn't know anything until December, when all of a sudden they were asking questions about the kids. Had no idea that the kids were missing, had no idea that they got married, like none of that. It was all news to me at that point.
And she never contacted you back at all after you left that message?
And the only time I heard back from her, I think, was in text, and that was to tell me that they weren't doing a memorial for Charles.
So what reason did she give you for her to have 3 cell phones?
That Charles was watching everything that she did and said, and that was the only way that she could visit, was with the separate phone.
Did she give you all 3 phone numbers?
Yeah, I had them in my phone, but I didn't have them so I knew which one was supposed to be which.
So you don't have all 3 phone numbers now? Or do you?
It was probably a house line and 2 cell phones, I'm guessing, but I don't know how it would be like. have a different phone now.
I mean, there's a really good chance that we have those phone numbers. I just want to make sure because. Oh.
One of the things that had happened too that night in June was that they were talking about Serena and that she had fallen into disfavor, that they didn't care for her anymore. And that was one of the other things was just I wasn't okay with being negative or unkind to somebody that had been introduced to me, and I liked Serena's one of my friends. Now she moved here and after and. So,
well, as a friend, you two have something in common.
Yeah.
Because she's here.
Yeah, she's here this morning.
So.
I saw her truck out there.
I'm sure that's what Denny's. Well, that's why Denny's not in here right now. He's visiting with her.
Yeah. I don't know how you go from being someone who is so kind and generous to.
You don't. She was never generous and kind.
All of a sudden is these people are evil and bad. And.
Yeah.
When you guys were meeting together as a group as friends, did Chad's name come up?
It wasn't until I think the last time that his name came up. Yeah. I could be wrong. On that, but like I wasn't aware of who her special friend was or she was very.
So it wasn't nobody.
Her special friend.
Name, it was just
right.
Her special friend.
But it was obvious that like the Melanies knew who he was, and Sulema knew who her special friend was, but like Nicole and I had no idea who this guy was.
I don't know if they said mentioning by name.
I don't know. Well, there was paranoia. Like looking back now, you can see there was some paranoia there, and there was some,
Did he just say Nate Eaton, or am I tripping? Let me go back because I might be tripping.
Well, there was some paranoia. There was paranoia. Like looking back now, you can see there was some paranoia there, and there was some,
Should I go back?
What did the other people in the group think about Chad? Did they say anything? Like Zulema or either Melanie's?
I don't know that her niece.
Don't think I went back far enough. Of course.
Mentioning by name.
Nicole and I had no idea who this guy
I
was.
don't know if they said mentioning by name.
I don't know. Well.
Oh, Ned maybe.
There was paranoia. Like looking back now, you can see there was some paranoia there, and there was some,
With the act.
What did the other people in the group think about Chad? Did they say anything? Like Zulema or either Melanie's?
I don't know that her niece ever said anything about him. And
That's her dad.
And Melanie, if they did, it was complimentary. But it wasn't like there was a huge discussion per se around him because there was some secrecy there.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There shouldn't be any silence. There's too much to ask.
Did she ever talk about Tylee or JJ?
Yeah, one of the times Tylee called and was upset when I was at Zulema's, and she's like, let's just pray together. So she prayed with her over the phone, and we were all standing there, and it was beautiful. Like that's why none of it makes sense. It's just she prayed for her daughter to feel God's love and light, and then Tylee was great afterwards, and
freed.
that was the end of that.
Can you recall if there was anything you may have overheard what was bothering Teddy.
Freed, liberated.
No. Sorry, I have a crappy memory.
That's right. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, it is.
What about JJ?
She adored JJ. I mean, he's super hard because he didn't sleep and he had so much energy and he required constant attention. I did talk to her on the phone one time, actually, when she was driving to Arizona with JJ to put him into a summer program here for a month or something.
Okay.
Afterwards.
So that must have been, I don't know when she came back, if it was in May or what, but it was before I met with her in June and was done with communications with her. But she always talked about JJ in a very positive light, like he is just such a great spirit and he was meant to be in my life. And
Absolutely.
actually, everything that's probably the most shocking to me that she could ever turn on him in thinking he was
really
but a sweet little angel, because that's how she always felt about him.
But he was so hard, you just said.
But did you ever meet Tylee?
Oh yeah. There was a couple times that the time that we were at Lori did my hair twice.
Yeah.
At her house. And we studied scriptures together and did hair twice. And Tylee was home both one of those times.
Yeah, babysitting.
I watched an interaction with her and Charles, which when we went to Hawaii, Charles wasn't home. He was in Texas or somewhere for work. So I've had very little interaction with Charles other than the first 2 times after they came back from Hawaii that I saw them in the temple. Charles was with her. So
in the temple.
Politely visited and said hello to him. But other than that, the one time that I was there at her house getting my hair done, Charles had come home and they kind of were just sniffing at each other.
Do you know when that was?
It would have been, I think I would say that was September 2018 because I was going on a trip to Ireland to do genealogy.
Genealogy of all things. Sorry, I just talked over her. Let me go back.
September 2018 because I was going on a trip to Ireland to do genealogy. So that's when that was. They just weren't they didn't speak very kindly to each other. So that's about my only interaction that I saw with her and Charles ever outside of the temple.
It says it right under your comment right here. 4/28/21.
Never gave you a name or called you a name and said that was your name in a previous life.
Yes, she did at one of those 3 times we met. She said it was probably the second or third because it wasn't like right away that she started with that stuff.
Hey, Jean.
But I don't know if it was the second or the third.
Do you know what that name was?
Started with a J, maybe. I don't know. I think a J.
What did you think when you heard that?
Well, that's odd.
Did she say it? I didn't hear. I can't hear her.
Started with a J, maybe.
Started with a J.
I think a J.
What did you think when you heard that?
Well, that's odd. It didn't seem to me like she should know a name that I don't know. That's something that was what I thought was. Well, it doesn't seem like something God would tell you. He hasn't told me.
Did she tell you where she got that name from?
True.
She had this. I don't know if she was praying in a closet or praying in a closet, but she was praying and asking for
Portal in the closet.
revelation. Is what.
Wait a minute.
I remember.
Did she say praying in a closet?
I don't know if it was in a closet.
Oh. Her brain's hurting.
privately, maybe. I don't know.
Was she conversing with somebody, or
I don't know. No, I don't know.
did she go into a closet?
I don't know. That just is what came to my mind, was just that she had been praying alone, like, that might be me just thinking about like praying alone in your closets kind of thing, you know, like the.
Because it was a
I don't know
thing.
if she had said she was praying, so I don't quote me on that. I don't know.
Oh, you quoted.
Well, I want
She called it her portal, like that she had this conduit between her and heaven is what it was.
Mm-mm-mm.
But you don't know if she was.
Thank you, Miss Mojo.
And conversing with the Lord.
Yes,
Conversing with Chad.
they
No,
do.
it was with heaven, but I don't know what the
Allegedly.
exact who she was.
Thank you.
You've given
Yeah.
me some interesting information on the 9th. Is there anything
Thank you.
about the 9th that sticks out in your memory as
Why is
besides what we've already discussed?
he keeps talking about the
It's
ninth?
just so disturbing. Just disturbing the casualness of talking about somebody's death.
Did any of the other ladies that were there take issue?
Nicole was with me, and we talked about it on the way home. Like, that is way, way not okay. You know.
And so.
And I even the next day, I let Nicole know, because we talk every day multiple times because we're running an organization. But I jokingly said to her, well, if I go missing,
Which Mormon's own?
To my husband, if I go missing or something weird happens, just assume it's Lori.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
I'm going to go tell her that she's like, this is not okay. And I was joking when I said it, but now that there's all these dead people,
Not so funny, huh?
I don't know.
Alex.
Maybe she's just so small.
That's the one and only time I met him, and it was not a positive.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, so when Alex said this, was it because, if I recall right, because the conversation had gotten to the point where they're talking about a dark spirit in Charles?
Yeah.
Was there any other reasoning besides that dark spirit?
That night they talked about, they believed that Charles was dead, and that there was this dark spirit that was inhabiting his body. That was their train of thought on it.
And tell me again what Alex's exact words on that were.
I can't give you exact, other than twice, I believe that night he made casual references to he wished he could just kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he ever said how. I don't think he ever, but it was like kind of this cocky. It was just weird.
I want to back that up again, because that's just so.
Twice, I believe that night he made casual references.
Let's hold on.
And tell me again what Alex's exact words on that were.
I can't give you
Eerie.
exact, other than twice, I believe that night he made casual references to he wished he could just kill him. I don't think he ever said how. I don't think he ever, but it was like kind of this cocky. It was just weird to even casually say something like that.
Sure. So how was Alex the rest of the night? Besides that conversation,
he was like super loud and boisterous. He just was. I did not find him very pleasant to be around.
did Lori ever talk to you about the 144?
Yes, she believed that all these ladies that she believed that she had a connection with were part of this, that would someday be part of this 144.
Including you?
Yes, she believed that.
Did she talk to you? What did she tell you about that as far as what you might be expected to do? Or
Very little. It was always about what Lori was going to do. Like it was just grandeur for herself and her own personal mission. Is my memory of it.
did she tell you what that mission was?
Well, she
Rid the
talked
world
about
of zombies.
getting rid of about evil spirits, getting rid of
Isn't that
evil
nuts?
spirits.
Isn't that
And
nuts?
ADD. So I
I do
don't
too.
have the best memory. I'm not always present
That's
when
all right. That's all right.
So like trying to recall
Obviously.
exactly what was said is like.
But I want to hear that part again about what Lori's mission is. And that is so interesting because it aligns with the LDS Church of Satan's big time. Big time. Ridding the world.
Well, she talked a lot about getting rid of about evil spirits, getting rid of evil spirits. I have ADD, so I don't have the best memory, and I'm not always present when
That's right.
So like trying to recall exactly what was said is like I couldn't.
I know I'm asking a lot because some of the stuff dates back a few years.
It's a couple
Not
years.
asking enough, dude.
But I can tell you that this woman had been kind and you know reached out to help my family, and so I was willing to go and hear what she had to say.
Help your family or launder money?
Until it was just not even an option anymore. Because she was so...
Okay. Before what we would call as casting outs, you were there for on how many occasions, even include the time on the phone? Do you recall?
I think there was 2 phone conversations with the group.
Piano.
And then I think that I only met with the ladies 3 times.
Okay. So,
So not very many.
So you don't recall if she ever asked or assigned you to be part of the elements? You know, let's say water.
There was something, and I don't remember what it was. Just that we were all trying to pray to do whatever it was she was hoping to do. Yeah. But I don't remember what it was. I can't.
Except for did she? Was one of the things that was asked or she was asking to do was cast a dark spirit out of Charles.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
And then,
but it wasn't on those phone calls. It wasn't Charles. It was like just trying to cast out darkness from the world, from different locations. It was all it was.
How'd that work?
Did she ever discuss to you about different levels of darkness? And if you had a high level of darkness, how that spirit would have to be casted out?
Well, she believed that there was people of darkness around people of light.
That's so confusing.
She kind of took I'm taking care of it kind of.
But that actually is like Lori saying, hey, there's darkness around people that are light. So therefore, Lori thought herself as light, and there are dark people like her husband, her daughter, her son, Melanie's husband, you know, so on and so forth. Adam would eventually become dark, and her dad skirted the line. So did my mom. You know, it's so gross to listen to this. It really is.
To be casted out.
Well, she believed that there was people of darkness around people of light. But
thank you,
Sheila.
Sheila.
But I'm taking care of it kind of.
I'm adding more.
Thing. Like she invited the ladies to do, you know, praying with her for this, but then she would just say, "Oh, but I took care of it," kind of thing.
Like what?
Here you go.
This casting darkness out of the world stuff. Because at first it was like we all need to work together to get rid of these dark spirits. And then it was, I'm just taking care of it. You don't kind of need to. But like the second time, the second or third, she wasn't going to church. She wasn't partaking in the sacrament. She wasn't wearing her garments.
That's because she was hiding from Charles being served. Yeah.
She also believed that she did not need to repent of anything. That there was,
Tell me about that.
she believed that she was going through a translation of some sort, and that she didn't ever need to seek forgiveness anymore. And that just rang wrong.
She never had an accountability for any
I don't know.
sins that she did. She just
No. Anything prior she had taken care of, and from this moving forward, she was good.
So what she's saying is that the sins in the past, up to this certain point, that she's taken care of and been resolved. But from that point on forward, she didn't need to repent for because she's what?
She was going through some sort of a translation.
Do you know what that translation was going? What was she translating to?
Just a translated being. Slowly, she said.
Just a translated being. Would a better word be exalted being? Is she consider herself to be an exalted being and not having to repent?
I guess.
I'm just trying to. I'm
Like
not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to understand what.
But like when you talk about
Because that part right there.
Scriptures, it's people that are without sin, like the three Nephites, or your John the Beloved, or them that were going to live, and someday they'd be exalted, but they're not. They're just translated. Their bodies can't die.
So when you hear this, and knowing Lori, what'd you tell her? I mean, when Lori says,
well, Lori's this like flamboyant person, and that is not me, and I'm just pretty quiet. I'd ask her a few questions, like, why do you think that, or what's your, whatever. But she was very sure about everything.
Okay. Do you need a break?
I'd rather just be done. So.
Sure.
Do you need a break?
Yeah, I want to go run a couple of things by Dan and make sure I'm done, and then if I don't have anything, we'll get you out of here.
Okay.
Been helpful. I want you to know that. Thanks for your long skimming chat with us. Just trying to wrap my head around this whole thing.
Me too.
And this is.
I ran searches a couple times waiting to hear that like her brother was going to be arrested or something was going to happen, But I haven't read, like I think I've read one news article, but other than that, I can't even, like I haven't watched any of the stuff on the news, or I just can't even go there because her two little kids are dead.
Yeah, it's such a tragedy. What did you think of Zelina?
I thought Zelina was really nice. Yeah, she was always very warm.
What about Melanie Gibb?
I struggled with Melanie to connect to her at all. I invited her one day to come out and do an apartment setup with me, or to come help me at the warehouse just to try to get to know her, because I just didn't have any interaction. Like I just found her kind of aggressive, or I don't know what it was. So I wanted to try to be friendly. Something that had happened before we met that final time too was that we learned that both the Melanies were getting divorced all of a sudden, and like all this, and for me it's like, well, by the fruits you shall know them, and whatever you ladies, because they were meeting and they were doing stuff, and it's not like Nicole and I knew what was going on or whatever.
When you say they were doing stuff,
well, they were getting together and visiting and talking and
just having meetings.
Yeah, like they were getting together and stuff, and we weren't included in that stuff. But to all of a sudden hear that there's these, like everybody's getting divorced, and this is before Charles died, but like it was just like well, this is a whole lot of drama and this is a whole lot of negativity and this is not going well. Like, this is not okay. So that was something else that had happened that we learned about probably that final night. I don't know if that's what we learned, but it was just a whole lot of, okay, no, not okay.
Interesting. What about Melanie Pulaski? Or Melanie Boudreaux, sorry. I should think of her.
I thought Melanie was really nice.
I agree.
She was struggling with her, I think it was her youngest son. And Lori had suggested that he was struggling with dark spirits.
You heard that, right?
And
Let's back that up.
I think it was that final night somehow. She was struggling with her, I think it was her youngest son. And Lori had suggested that he was struggling with dark spirits.
So Melanie Boudreaux was struggling with her younger son, and Lori said that he was struggling with dark spirits. And we know from the testimony, the text messages of Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow when they were traveling, when Lori was traveling with the kids, except Tylee wasn't with them. But that's when Chad said, do you want me to turn the pain up? And talking about the 2 3s that she had with her. And that was so telling to me. I think it was telling to a lot of us, actually. That is so gross, y'all, and so disturbing and alarming. I mean, just the red flag meter is flying. Bad. Yeah.
I thought Melanie was really nice.
She was nice. Everything's nice.
She
Nice.
was struggling with her, I think it was her youngest son. And Lori had suggested that he was struggling with dark spirits. And I think it was that final night somehow. I don't know if Melanie Boudreaux was there that last night, but it had come up that they believed her husband was gay. And
What?
she was getting a divorce.
Yeah, the G meter. Remember? Let me back that up too, y'all. That's so crazy.
That last night, but it had come up that they believed her husband was gay, and that she was getting a divorce. But I can't even tell you for sure she was there that night. Just that I learned of it. Yeah.
Let me go grab Vinny. At least I think he needs at least to meet the guy that called you. So I'll be right back.
Yeah, so he goes to get Vinny. She sits here looking at the teddy bear. She just looked at the teddy bear too. Yeah, I've been working on putting this together in a more effective way of telling it. It's so hard to put all this into context, and AI will not help me because it's too sensitive for this subject matter. And I'm just like, oh my God, I just need help putting it together, So Canva, AI doesn't really like to touch the sensitive things. And I'm just like, that's all I talk about is the sensitive things, are the sensitive things. So I wrote this too while we're waiting. Make no mistake about any one of these people being victims of Lori and Chad. Nay, nay. They are all practicing witches. Julie Rose. What? Oh, Julie Rowe. Remember how she said those Arizona witches, how she dogged them? Anyways, who practice the dark arts in their preferred covens with others like Tom Harrison, Hamblin, Bowen, Krogh, Ballard, Stroud, Moe, Gibb, Warwick, John Miller, the real estate agent even, Suzanne Freeman, Smith, Eric Smith, Zalema, and yes, even Lori, Alex, and Chad. I want to stress that Gibb is by far not a victim of this or of Chad and Lori. She was like all the others, a willing participant in the gathering, and she willingly and admittedly participated in crimes that obstructed justice in our search for Tylee and JJ. She lied to police, constructed an alibi using her acquaintance, Sherry Dowdle, erecting an entire narrative around this entire case in order to make it seem plausible that she and David did not conspire and even participate in the satanic rituals that had abound in the murders, sacrifices of Tylee and JJ in September 2019 in Rexburg, Idaho. Ugh, that's a mouthful. So I've been putting things together too, like how this relates to how in the LDS Church of Satan, they have chores that these kids had to do. And then I show a clip of the body cam footage of them arresting, or not arresting, but putting Pam Botcher in handcuffs and, going to grab Ruby Frankie's older 2 girls. They were there to do chores. I don't know. It's like how my aunt's murders of 3 members of my family and Tammy led to the shocking discovery of a murderous global conspiracy. It's the weirdest, craziest freaking thing. And I'm just like, what the hell? How do you write about this? It's so nuts. But I'll share that with y'all in a little bit. Thank y'all for being here.
Hi.
Christina, how are you? I'm Vince. Nice to meet you. Sorry I didn't
No worries.
get in here right away. I was
problem.
in another one, so I would sit down, but I don't know.
You know what?
I don't think I'll fit in this
You
chair.
don't
So I was just gonna ask you. I missed some of it, but with Chad, did he ever mention anything about his?
I've only met Chad once, and that was at church for like 30 seconds. So.
Okay, she was in Idaho. She actually works for was it Schwindman's? Or who'd you say?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, must have.
My brother-in-law, so I go up and do harvest every year.
Oh, nice.
Place. Yeah.
Potato
So
harvest.
But I was there in the summer, and I was visiting my sister, who's in Chad's ward.
Okay.
That's the only time I ever met him.
And this is off subject. So are you related to any of the Atwoods up in Rexburg?
No.
There's a couple of them.
No, my husband's family's from Canada.
Oh, okay.
So, I have a sister in Rigby, a sister in Salem, and a sister in Newdale.
And then you're
Good.
here.
And I'm here.
What's up with that?
Who's your sister, Ricky?
Vicky Louder. She's married to Jed. He's a real estate agent. Jed Louder?
Oh, I think I've seen his name on.
Yeah, billboards or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and I don't know if Ron's told you, so they've been overseeing the investigation on the kids, and I've been over the investigation on Tammy, Chad's wife. But a lot of this is just all intermixed, and we've been working together.
So the
Day
only
one,
only thing that maybe, I don't know if it's of any import, but I just come home from a harvest,
Thank you,
and my
Chris.
sister Ruth, who's in his ward, had
Thank you
called
so
me and
much.
told me that Tammy had died, and they had had several deaths in that ward,
Area.
like back to like there was several of them.
And then
so
Spring Thibodeau.
that's the
Think about
last
that.
time I tried to reach out to Lori, and I left a message to say, hey, I heard some bad news. I'd like to visit with you. She hadn't responded to me in months anyway, and she didn't. But that's the only thing that I knew about it. I didn't even know she was living in Rexburg. But I did think of one thing. This is another hearsay piece. But when I was there at Christmas, the year that they were looking for the kids, that's when it came out that the kids were missing. I was in Salem visiting with my sister, and she mentioned that her husband, in talking to Chad, he had said that Lori's husband left her a lot of money, and that they were getting a place in Hawaii, which was contrary to what my friend had said, because she said that she was going to be in debt for all of his business.
That was what month were you up there?
December
Of 2019.
19. Yeah. So that's the only other hearsay or anything that I have about the Chad part of it.
Okay.
Is that.
And you were told that Charles
Yeah, me
left
too.
Lori a bunch of money.
Yes.
And that's how they were going to move it to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Mm.
That Chad had told my brother-in-law.
Yep.
That his.
That's actually good,
new wife,
Regina.
because that was the first I learned that they were even married. I had no idea she was living there. I had no idea they were married.
What's your brother-in-law's name?
Bob Mortensen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bob.
He's the manager over at the MC West in Rexford.
I know some Mortensons. I'm sure they're related
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Would Bob
That's
Bob
very
have
Mortensen.
a problem visiting us? Visiting with us if we
Well, it sucks to visit with you guys. I'm just gonna say it just as gross, but I'm sure he would.
I think I know who he is actually.
He's chill.
So.
Yeah.
Well, at least no. I mean, we don't know each other, but
Right.
I've been at BMC quite a bit. I think I know who he is.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to reach out and just say I'd be curious. Take a
Because
little
he
here,
was-
say out of that state.
Yeah. It was so contrary to what I'd heard that she was not getting any money and she was in debt for all this business stuff. So that one struck me as what?
What? That's courtesy of Tammy.
Do you have any questions for us or
Mm-hmm.
anything we can
What's the
answer?
timeline look like? Are you like, I know you're just taking our statements, but is this like an expectation that we're gonna need to go and be
Sure.
witnesses at trial or anything like that?
I would say no. There's
Not
a
in
chance.
Idaho, and I believe in
Correct me if I'm
Arizona.
wrong, there could be a minimal chance.
I had a
That
friend.
chance
I know.
always is there, but we would try not to.
Obviously, we're a long ways from finishing this case.
Yeah.
There's still some things we're going to do, and you know, the future. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But you know, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if you heard from us again.
I had somebody tell me, so my sister Ruth got a call from somebody that works at the courthouse in Rexburg, and she said that her name and my name were on the thing. We just never met Lori, so like, but it was on Lori's defense or something. I never looked it up. Don't know, but just some lady had called her and said, "You're on a list."
I have not
I
heard or seen that.
Okay.
Now the defense, we don't get to see any
Yeah.
of the defense side. On
Is it
witness
public
statements
record or not?
something.
Like, I don't know anything. Is that a public record?
Y'all, he is so good looking in person. I'm just
I
saying.
had some lady in church tell me I was on the FBI's list. And I'm
I
like,
think-
I've never talked to the FBI. I've talked to one guy here, and you guys, and that's it.
So probably what has happened is in July they were scheduled. I think it's been postponed now, but they were scheduled to have a jury trial on these misdemeanor charges that they're being held on. So in the process of doing that and getting ready for court, the state has supplied the defense with names of all potential witnesses. Potential
Okay.
witnesses.
Okay.
Not that you're going to be,
Right.
but potential, because, you know, kind of interested in these, what we talked about, these casting outs, and people who are there might have something to tell us. That's why we're here.
But for the defense, I mean, for her
For the
for
prosecution,
her own
It'd be
defense,
for us.
right?
So
Because
I don't
wasn't.
think the defense, I think you're
She
probably on
wasn't
the list
speaking
for
to
us.
me, so why she would have me listed is
I'm just guessing.
Right.
Because you know a lot.
Prosecution list as a potential, but there's a lot of potential people
yeah,
that we probably won't even hear from. But if they don't supply it, then it becomes an
can.
issue later.
right. Okay.
So don't sweat it too much right now.
I wish I could explain it. I wish I could give you something that would make sense of it, but there is no sense to it.
Well,
Oh, you
cleared
did.
up a lot of just little questions we've had, you know, and just like Ron was saying on the castings, things like that. It's to a lot of people when little things don't seem big, but little things to us are big. So
Exactly.
you know, it's kind of good that you don't know a whole lot.
Uh,
Kind of got, you know, things.
in my opinion, she
I'm
does.
really grateful I was so
That's just
busy
me.
that I wasn't available a lot, or that I wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
Or you didn't call.
Well,
But you have my number.
I do.
You are more than welcome to call me or text me whenever if you have any questions or something pops up. Don't hesitate to
Okay.
get a hold of me.
Yeah, my only two pieces that I have that are in any way in my mind damning are Alex saying what he did and Lori's talking about the Valium.
Okay.
So about her crushing up the Valium and putting it in his shake powder.
I'll do it.
So that's about the extent of,
Done.
Did she do that a lot?
well,
Or
no,
did she tell you she did that a lot?
she just said that she had done it once. When I talked to her and said, what were you really saying?
Yeah, why did she say she did that?
Because he was so aggressive and constantly, I was telling her she had an extra cell phone and different things, and she was feeling like he was watching everything she said and did. And
Be careful.
So she was trying to keep him from,
in her eyes, calm him down or something.
Exactly.
Well, and I'll get you one of my cards so you have it.
Calm him down by being. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So how long is it going to be before you think anything is going to happen?
It could be, we hope soon.
Yeah.
But it could be months. But we're trying to get all of our stuff together.
Yeah.
And
How much more?
COVID's kind of helped us out a little bit because it's slowed the process down of
Yeah, buddy.
court and everything so much that we've been able to kind of really pay a lot of attention to this case, and it's given us time, because we're not rushed to meet court dates. So it's kind of worked out good for us. Now things are starting to pick up with, COVID numbers going down and things kind of get back to normal. So, progressive.
I'm in Idaho usually every couple of months.
Oh Lord.
I have my 2 oldest sons live there. So I'm around there too if you.
They go to college?
She just gave up.
Yeah, well, one just graduated and the other one's gone now for summer sales, but we'll be back in the
Oh, really? Who's he doing summer sales for?
Active
Is that a
pest
control?
control.
Is that Hammond's? I wonder if that's
I
Hammond's.
think that's the same one. My
Oh.
daughter's boyfriend.
Just listening. Anyway, so the rest of it is, empty space here. Okay. Y'all, that was really good that we got to watch those, or, the other one was an audio, but we got to do that with them back to back like that. Not many people have played the audio version only. So I definitely wanted to get in that today, and I'm so glad that we were able to do that, and still under 3 hours, which is my norm. Oh my gosh. Smoking a cigarette, or I would put it on my face. But I've been trying to come up with a dialogue or some kind of, I'm not a writer. I used to be good at writing and talking and speaking, but that's like this just overwhelmed all that. And I don't know. It's just, I haven't had to, I have not had to exercise that part of my brain for a long time now. And it just, has not been the easiest thing for me to put this into words, okay, that are effective. I do it and sprinkle it all throughout every one of my live streams and everything to do with my channel. But to actually put it into a context, just into something that other people can understand. And so I kind of, and I don't know if I even have this laid out right, so just bear with me, please. But I think all your comments were right on. They were on point. It just seems like there's more there. It seems like she's being very reserved. Why didn't she reach out to police? Why did she kind of evade them a little bit even, just because she was traveling and stuff? She couldn't just pick up the phone, Anyways, all right, let me find a good spot here. So it says, my name is Crusha K. Easton, and my aunt, Lori Vallow Daybell, is known worldwide for the horrific crimes that earned her the nicknames Cult Mom, Mommy Doomsday, and Doomsday Cult Mom. Her case involved several deaths in 2019, as well as an attempted homicide, one of the last criminal acts perpetrated by her and her husband as part of their alleged mission to rid the world of zombies and maintain the purity of their covenanted bloodline through a secretive organization. The details of this case are mortifying. While some may speculate about a connection to temple ceilings within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the crimes of Lori and Chad stand on their own, distinct from any specific religious rite. The victims include her estranged husband, Charles Vallow, who was shot and killed by her brother, Alex Cox, who claimed self-defense. Then there were her two youngest children, Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow. Their remains were discovered buried on Chad Daybell's property months after they were reported missing. Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy Daybell, also died under suspicious circumstances, a death that allowed Lori and Chad to quickly marry and collect insurance money. Let me share my screen. It would be... I think this one, yeah. Okay. All right. Let me find my spot again, right? Okay, the circumstances surrounding these deaths and bizarre beliefs that fueled them are almost too much to comprehend. This isn't just a story about murder. It's a story about manipulation, religious extremism, and the devastating consequences of misinformation and unchecked beliefs. It's a story that has deeply impacted my family and one that I feel compelled to share. Not for sensationalism, but to shed light on the truth and perhaps offer a measure of understanding in the face of such senseless tragedy. The trial brought forth a disturbing picture of Lori's descent into increasingly bizarre beliefs, influenced by figures like Chad Daybell, who promoted apocalyptic prophecies and the idea of zombies inhabiting people's bodies. The prosecution argued that Lori's desire for money, power, and a new life with Chad motivated her actions. The defense painted a picture of a woman struggling with mental illness, manipulated by a charismatic figure, who, it turns out, Lori was unwilling to place blame on, even though he did not reciprocate. Ultimately, the jury found Lori Vallow Daybell guilty on all counts. While the legal proceedings have concluded, the emotional scars remain for the families of the victims. And the questions about how such a tragedy could have occurred continue to haunt those who followed the case. The circumstances surrounding the beliefs... Ooh, did I do this right? Let me move that. I'm just making sure it doesn't... Yeah, it's repeating. Okay, see, I told you. Let's see. The verdict was in, but for me, the story didn't end there. My connection to this tragedy is deeply personal. Oh, why is it doing this? Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm Crusher K. Easton, and my late uncle, Charles Vallow, was one of Lori's victims. That makes me JJ's aunt and Tylee's step-cousin. My mom is JJ's grandmother. My stepfather, Larry Woodcock, is his grandfather. My brother is JJ's biological father. The loss of Charles, JJ, and Tylee has left an unfillable void in our family. While the trial... let me clear my throat. It's getting worse. Okay. I know, Ravina. I do. I need to send it back to Ron. He's what got me even writing this, or just, along those lines. Okay. While the trial offered some answers, it also raised so many more questions. How could this happen? How could someone, especially someone I knew, be capable of such horrific acts? My initial quest for understanding began with a now 6-year-long deep dive into the beliefs of Chad and Lori, comparing them to the doctrines of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the faith they both professed. I needed to understand what constituted a cult leader and what set them apart from others. I needed to know where the line was crossed, where interpretation became extremism, and where faith devolved into something dangerous, something that could justify murder. My research wasn't limited to Lori and Chad. I started noticing a disturbing trend. I found countless individuals, their stories often splashed across Mormon true crime headlines, who echoed the same rhetoric, the same justifications, the same distorted view of reality as Lori and Chad. They spoke of, well, they didn't speak of zombies, of light and dark, so I need to fix that. They spoke of zombies, of light and dark, of a coming apocalypse. They too often left a trail of broken families, shattered lives, numerous victims in their wake. I began meticulously researching these individuals, tracing their connections, their influences, the sources of their beliefs. What I uncovered was alarming. These seemingly disparate cases were often linked, connected by a thread of sharing ideology, often rooted in fringe interpretations of religious texts and prophecies. The more I dug, the deeper I fell into a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, secret societies, and apocalyptic prophecies. It was a complex web woven with threads of misinformation and fueled by fear and paranoia. It felt like I was peering into something much larger than just the case of my aunt. It felt like I was looking at something that resonated with ancient biblical prophecies, a global conspiracy playing out on today's world stage. The implications were staggering and frankly terrifying. I knew I couldn't stop here. I had to keep digging, keep connecting the dots, not just for my family, but for anyone who might be vulnerable to these dangerous ideologies. Let's see. Okay. Lori and Chad's beliefs were a twisted amalgamation of apocalyptic prophecies, distorted interpretations of scripture, and a belief in their own divine mission to rid the world of zombies. This is a repeat. But anyways, they spoke of light and darkness, claiming the ability to discern who was infected and who was pure. This dangerous worldview justified their actions, allowing them to rationalize the deaths of their loved ones as necessary steps in their warped crusade. This echoes the rhetoric used by other individuals involved in similar cases, like Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke. Their child abuse, cloaked in religious justification, demonstrates the devastating consequences of extremist beliefs. The manipulation they employed, the control they exerted, and the systematic abuse they inflicted mirror the tactics often associated with cults. The generational aspect of trauma, particularly in cases of satanic ritual abuse, or SRA, is a deeply disturbing element. The disruption of a child's attachment to their mother, a fundamental bond crucial for healthy development, can have lifelong consequences. When this bond is intentionally severed, as alleged in SRA cases, the child's emotional and psychological well-being is severely compromised. They are left without the foundational tools needed to navigate social interactions, develop healthy relationships, and regulate their emotions. This vulnerability can make them susceptible to further manipulation and abuse. Think in terms of Ruby Franke's sister, Bonnie Holine, who proudly exploited the fact of blanket training her baby. This is only one example where these beliefs and practices have been made public and afford the opportunity to point out that there is definitely an alarming trend happening here. I suspect Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt's families are involved in this particular satanic sect and has been passed down from generation to generation by their descendants. It's important to remember that part of the conspiracy's origin was the infiltration of the Christian faith in order for Satan to manipulate and control people by using their own personal egocentric desires to become more important, more successful, more powerful, and yes, more wealthier in the world. Satan thrives in this particular area because of our current global environment in which we are constantly minimizing the impact of God in our lives and homes and slowly infiltrating, adapting more and more perverted ways of life as the norm is now being pushed by people who have no idea what is really happening. Just look at how people worship their idols and political actors. Have you ever witnessed someone someone sharing actual facts about their idols and watching them go berserk on the commenter? It's volatile behavior to see. And another reason why I believe it to be true that to what's actually happening here. Sorry. It's a slow and steady, drop by drop kind of conspiracy that has been twisting the truth and inverting or tricking people into thinking and believing it to be true. Inversion. The allegations against Dr. David Lee Dr. David Lee Hamblin paint a horrifying picture of SRA. The accounts from his daughters detail psychological and physical torture, human sacrifice, murder, and even cannibalism. Let's not forget R. I forgot to put R in there. Grape or whatever. These claims, while shocking, are consistent with reports from other SRA survivors who describe similar experiences of ritualistic abuse. often involving multiple perpetrators. The alleged involvement of a group calling themselves the LDS Church of Satan, or the group operating within the larger framework of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, raises serious concerns. The claim that members hold dual membership, maintaining their standing in the church while participating in these alleged rituals, suggests a level of infiltration and manipulation that is deeply troubling. Okay, that's the same thing. The Glenn Pace memo, which surfaced years ago, addresses allegations of SRA within the church, specifically in the 4 counties along the Wasatch Front in southern Utah, which is where Chad and Tammy Daybell grew up and raised their children before moving to Rexburg, Idaho. This document, through its authenticity, has been debated. Detailed claims of ritual abuse, raising questions about the church's awareness of these activities. The memo's existence, coupled with the numerous accounts from survivors, underscores the need for further investigation and understanding of this complex issue. My suspicion that Chad and Lori were involved in this alleged satanic sect stems from several factors. Chad's long tenure as a cemetery sexton, his fascination with death and the afterlife, and the couple's bizarre beliefs about zombies and their mission to eliminate them all align with some of the reported characteristics of this group. It leads me to believe that my family members were targeted, exploited, trafficked, and ultimately killed by this group operating in the shadows of the Mormon Church. I believe their involvement explains the senseless tragedy that has befallen my family. I am driven to uncover the truth, to expose these to expose these alleged crimes, and to seek justice for my loved ones. So, anyways, that's just a little rough cut of what I was doing. So, anyways, just something. Just I'm dabbling, right? I'm trying to put it into words. I've not been able to put it into words and to bring it together. Okay. Yeah, no. He won't touch this. He has not touched this. And I am I'm a perfect example of that because I've met Nate. When me and my mom went to Rexburg, it was my first time being there. It was January of 2021. And, I met with them and everything. I met the detectives. I had to be where Tylee and JJ were in their last moments. I had to. I don't know. I was just driven to just breathe the same air that they breathed, to walk in the same footsteps as they did. That was their last connection to this earth. And yeah, that's interesting because I understand, Nate, he is a Latter-day Saint. He's faithful, whatever. And it bothers me because he'll push this image or this, I don't even know what to call it. He pushes this narrative that he wants to interview everybody, but he's not interviewed me or Megan. And we're the only that I know of. We're the only 2 that not speak out about the church. We just speak out, period. It's not our fault. That's the truth of the matter. But I'm sure what most not ex-Mormons, but what most Mormons would dub as anti-Mormons, okay? Which really sucks. It really sucks because that's not at all what's happening. People don't see that part. People don't see I see that, detective's daughter. People don't see the part, where he's kinda iced me and I'm not speaking for Megan, but I'm just saying, he's iced me out. Won't even look at me, and I'm just like, "God dang." It's so that to me just tells me everything that I need to know. It tells me a lot of what I need to know. And that's that judgy part that you see over and over and over again with all of these people. Everything's great. Everything's good. So good. Everybody was perfect. But in fact, nobody is perfect. So there's that, okay? Nobody's perfect. And there wasn't this, she was a great mother and yada, yada, yada. And no, she obviously was not. I didn't know that. I was never around her that much. I never went over there. And the few times that they came down here, just never was one-on-one with her. I never had heard anything that would make me want to question or inquire. I was just like, whatever. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Teresa, appreciate that. I mean, it's such a very weird, unique situation, that I don't wish on anybody else. I really don't. I mean, just to have I just wanted to talk to these people. Just wanted to talk. I've tried contacting, Mike and Nancy James, and they just ignore me like none other, I'm just like, "Okay." That's odd to me. To me, that does not at all look like someone who is Christ-like. I had a lot to learn, though. I had a lot to learn from then till now. I've learned so many things, just about the culture of churchgoers, and just like, ooh, where they put on this facade, they put on this mask, and they will die on that hill, just everything's great, everything's perfect, nothing to see here, continue. And it's not to point out flaws, but it's just to relate to other human beings, It's just so interesting to me. And so whenever people don't even yeah, yeah. I believe so. Yeah, Jeannie. Mhm. Anyways, it's just to me, it's interesting, And I mean, like, even Court TV, I remember Court TV, Julie Grant. I love Julie Grant, right? She's always the one that's like, "Pants on fire, pants on fire." Even though what they didn't they do something? I'm not quite sure. But during the Megan Boswell sentencing or something, didn't Court TV show, like, the jury? And I was like, "Oh, no." If that did happen, I was like, "Oh my god, no." Because we don't need Lori to have any kind of instance pointing things out that would help get cameras out of the courtroom. Okay. We don't need any help. I found it interesting also that, and I'd asked Jason about this. Jason's more law savvy. I'm not. And I remember a while back whenever the Rule 11, remember that whole thing with Lori and the Rule 11 mental health, and she got it out to where we basically couldn't talk about it or it couldn't be brought up. I don't know if this will affect the trial, but with that Rule 11 crap, I'm not very good at that. But go check out Megan's channel on that. But uh, Carrie says no. It was a local TV station covering it and distributing it to Court TV. So who is somebody? So I guess it was the local TV station that showed the jurors or something. I was like, oh no, we don't need any case. We don't need her to be able to reference this stuff, and point it out. Anyways, it's just something that's interesting with me. And Julie Barnett with Nadine was it for me, right? Yeah, and we had to beg for that interview to be shared. I mean, I did. I was just like, "Well, how are you gonna sit on this interview?" To me, I wanna know. I wanna know. It must be luxurious, that kind of position where you can just sit on something like that. To me, it was very yeah, that was it for me too. Well, not the only it, but it was just like another one of those it's for me. But anyways, but that Rule 11, it made me think about community bridges. Will this affect Lori in her upcoming trial where we can't bring up community bridges because it has to do with her mental health or whatever? I wonder, I don't know. So I'm just putting the question out there so that maybe some of know. Maybe I'm not saying it the right way, that tends to be the norm. I have a hard time framing these things. But I just wondered if I'm gonna have to go back and watch that hearing where it had to do with her her mental hearing, her mental health status. or something. And I don't know. I'll have to familiarize myself with whatever was being spoken of, because I never thought about that. Oh, okay. Because I was like not watching it, but I was listening, and then and then stuff happened. And I was like, well, what the hell happened? I didn't really know. Okay, good. Megan says, I got you, Crusher. It was a rule 11 to have a mental health evaluation. Okay, so this should not have to do with her upcoming trial, right? And Community Bridges, how she allegedly went there and they were like, oh, no, you're fine. You're not a translated being. And I doubt she even shared that she was a translated being, that she just presented herself one way. And the fact that she goes in there and she's a well-kept woman, like her hair, her clothes aren't tattered and everything. Her teeth are brushed. They're all white and just all the things, she has a good presentation. So it just makes me wonder if she was able to bamboozle them in that sense, or if she was straight up open with them. I wonder about that. Okay, Megan says it was to do with her upcoming trial, but it was to determine whether she was mentally competent to stand trial. Okay. So nothing to do with like that's off the table. Right. So okay. Yeah, her sickness is in her soul, not her head. No amount of psychiatry is going to solve that. Amen. Right? Amen. I do too. I do too, Lisa. I think about Chad sometimes, wonder how death row is treating him. 23 hours in a cell day after day. Absolutely. And it's just like it's like they're the zombies, It really is. It's like they're possessed. If I had to put a word on it. And I know it's not going to be agreed upon, with everybody, but changed, possessed, just I don't really know, but that to me just seems like that projection thing where these people were projecting onto their victims, um, what they were doing, what they were up to. It just to me, it just so sick. It's so sick. And Megan, that interview you had with, Randy, I think his name was Randy. That was my first ex-husband's name too. But I was just like, wow, I mean, Alex Cox, Lori Vallow Daybell, they shared these things with so many people about Joe Ryan and even about Charles Vallow, Randy Watts. Thank you. Y'all got to go check that out. I was like, what? And to see how you found out was really good to watch. I'm glad you included that because you were like, what? What? And I mean, here we are 6 years later and stuff still comes out, This is somebody I never knew about. I doubt you did either, Megan, It's interesting. It really is interesting. Is the child participating in the event? It doesn't mean that she is free. No, she is not. No, she's not free from delusion. It's just I don't know what I'm saying. And a lot of people think that, when people talk about possession, or I think that's what you're talking about. Maybe I could be wrong. But people seem to think that that's like an excuse. No, no, they're solely responsible and accountable for their actions on this planet. Ruby, Jody, Lori, Chad, and the whole funky bunch, right? They are responsible for their own. Megan also says mentally competent only means that she understands the charges against her and she will participate in her defense. It doesn't mean she is free from other disorders or delusion. Gotcha. Okay. Now I got you. Forget what I said. Appreciate that. Her first lawyers applied for Rule 11 because she said something to them that made them think she was not competent. And then she fired them and then she became her own counsel, right? I think so too. Y'all think his kids visit him in prison? Can you imagine? And yes, I remember I stayed with Mary, I'm sorry, detective's daughter and her husband while in Boise for Lori's trial. And her hubby is a retired sergeant for IDOC. We have lots of friends still working there. They have lots of stories too, and they're good. And I was supposed to talk to that one guy. Oh, you're probably saying his name out loud, but you know who I'm talking about. And because he was a prisoner there, and I'd still like to set that up if he would want to talk about prison, the same prison that Chad is in. She has a fool for a client. Amen. Right. We agree with that 144,000%, I believe. Yeah. Actually, on one of the receipts that my uncle included in his filings with his attorney when he was filing for divorce, which I wish he wouldn't have folded on that, but there was a receipt of inside their bank account or whatever, and at the very bottom of the receipt, it actually had this name of this place, so I Googled it, and when I did, that's what the place offered, it was, like, fillers and all kinds of stuff. I was like, "Oh, I wonder if she did go," because we always thought it was natural. My mom said it was natural, but, what we don't know, you know? It's interesting. Rob Roy. Yeah, I know it's a different name. Thank you. Yeah. Can you imagine? I imagine working there and seeing Chad's cell. All right. They still have so many more rights, in my opinion, than their victims were afforded, unfortunately. And that's the case for all these people. All these people that go to prison, they have more rights than they afforded their own victims. Are there interviews with the other women that Christina Atwood mentioned? Nicole, I think, was her bestie. I don't know if wait, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't let me go look on my channel real quick. Let me go look. Because, come on, where's my channel? I need my channel. There it is. Okay. Oh, okay, here it is. All right, let me go back and let me Google it. Nicole Earl. I'm wondering. Let's see. Yes, there is one of Nicole Earl. Okay. So the next live stream we'll do, I'm not going to wait all the way till Sunday. Okay. So maybe, I think Megan doesn't have do you upload on Tuesdays or Wednesdays? I want to say you upload on Wednesdays. So whatever day that you don't upload is the day I'll schedule it for. And we'll listen to Nicole Earl's, which was 37 minutes and about 37-minute interview. Yeah. Okay. 37 minutes. And then there's the one of April Raymond. Then there's Serena Sharp. Okay. And of course, Melanie Gibb, Zalema Pastenes, Melanie Pulaski, but she wasn't interviewed by Chandler. She was interviewed in her the case against, Brandon, which is interesting as well, but it was so hard to hear because of their little baby girl. She was just being a kid, she shouldn't have had to have been in a interrogation with her mommy, okay, because her daddy just got shot at. Just saying. Okay, thank you. But I think it would be interesting still, just as we're approaching trial, to kind of go over these things and refresh our memories. Yeah, I was doing Wednesdays. Okay, so I'll do this for Tuesday, and we'll go over another set of interviews, I guess, because 39 minutes, that's not very long. So what do you think? Y'all good? Everybody good? Anyways, thank you so much to those who sent super chats. I really appreciate you, Miss Mojo, always, and Sheila Smith, and a Miss Mojo again, and Miss Mojo again. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And Jennifer and Chris. Thank you guys. Thank y'all so very much. I really appreciate that. Also, I started this too because this was a good, it's one that I hadn't thought about, so I'll have to think about it some more. But she says, I really think Jason Mouse smoothed all this over so she could go her kids. And maybe they could all participate in this quote unquote, this gathering. I really think it's interesting that Christina Atwood's name of her and Nicole Earl's nonprofit organization is called Gathering Humanity. Okay? Hello? Witch, I mean, to me, it's just that's what this is witchcraft. It's like witches, and I'm just like, okay, what's going on here? And also, I'm literally done with it. I'm done with my Bishop Glenn Pace video, and I kind of put some. I didn't want to like confuse people. So I want to do the Glenn Pace memo, but I always have to put this case. I have to include the case because I think it's part of it. I think that this group has existed since before the quote unquote satanic panic. And this would have to be who Glenn Pace was talking about, victims of this alleged group. Okay. And because, I mean, it never was dealt with. It was just labeled. Okay. It was labeled as a satanic panic and hysteria and never addressed. Nothing to see here because everything's good. Everything's perfect. We're great. Right. And to me, according to Bishop Glenn L. Pace, there were 800 or so of these people practicing this inversion of LDS, um, what do you call it? Belief systems, whatever you want to say. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but and all up the Wasatch Front. That's a lot of freaking people, and that was back in the late 80s, early 90s. I think that's alarming. And it also explains why we see Jody Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke and David Hamblin and David Levitt and Gordon Bowen and Lori and Chad. To me, it's like, okay, uh, yeah, this isn't one of those out in left field type of things, There's no reason, anyways. So I go over that, but then I want to schedule a live stream for after that. Once we have the Glenn Pace memo and people know what I'm talking about, then we can go over some things that Sandra Tanner and her husband, Gerald Tanner, had brought up about the Glenn Pace memo and how Freemasonry, connects to it because of the temple ordinances and everything that Joseph Smith came up with, and how this is, anyways, it's very interesting to me. And it shouldn't be a surprise to everyone that Chad and Lori, that things like this has taken place, So anyways, I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Marty. I appreciate that. It would be interesting to see Lori on her deathbed and ask her what she thinks about seeing the end times come. That's a good one. I'm just saying. Yeah. Don't think I don't have these kind of thoughts, okay? I don't know. I try because I do love her. I do love her no matter what. And it just never had to come down to this. It never should have reverted to this. This should have never happened. This shouldn't be the reality of these victims, and it shouldn't be the reality of my own family. We should never feel that pushed against the corner where all we have left to do is just murder and exploit people. It's just, that's not right. That's not a good way of thinking, and it's manipulative, and it's interesting, right? It's unnecessary, but also, and I came up with this too, y'all. This is just me, okay? This is my way of like, I heard Megan on her interview with Joe Schmo, right? And you were naming the things about like portal, just all the things, right? I have done that too. I was like, oh my god, I need to share my list of things that I have come up with for nicknames, or things that just because it's just the stupidest, craziest stuff. Can't even believe I'm talking about it, right? And then it's just like whatever. So you just make up all kinds of little things that just help you cope, I think. But I wrote this, and then because was starting to try to write this, pull it together, and so I'm like, Summer and Janice. Oh, where do I begin? In their duo media blitz with Morgan Lowe, and I named the TV station Mom Janice Cox and sister Summer Cox Shiflett of Lori Vallow Daybell, my former aunt and nephew's adoptive mother, and sister-in-law of my mom, Kay, whose son is my brother, and the biological father of JJ, whose adoptive father was my uncle Charles Vallow, Tylee Ryan's stepdad, and step-uncle of Lori's maternal niece, the now ex-wife of great-nephew-in-law, Brennan Boudreaux, who was shot at by Lori's now-deceased brother Alex Cox, and Queen Bee herself, who literally represents herself as her own attorney in my mom's brother's upcoming murder trial. Anyways, I was just like, oh my God, just the connections, the affiliations, and how it's so confusing to people, because of how we're related, the dynamic. There's so many people involved in this, so that was just me being stupid. But anyways, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to go head to bed and we will talk more Tuesday, right? See you next Tuesday. Anyways, justice for Tylee, Trolls, Tammy, JJ, and Joe. Love always wins. You are proof of this. Bye. See you next.